The luxury cruise ship sank. I opened my eyes on a deserted island, with two beautiful women lying beside me. One was wearing ultra-short leather shorts, and the other was wearing only underwear. I was only halfway through rescuing them when the sun set. At night, several pairs of green eyes lit up from the forest. 8 wild wolves, hungry. No knives, no guns, only a torch. I told the two women to swim toward the reef while I stayed behind to cover them. One wolf jumped into the sea to chase and bite me. I dragged it under with me, wrapped its neck with my shoelace, and tied a knot. After getting ashore, I dragged the wolf's corpse back and roasted it. On the first night on the deserted island, I became a wolf killer. What are you looking at? Never seen a beautiful woman before? You can tell at a glance you're just a poor loser. On the deck of the luxury cruise ship, I was leaning against the railing smoking. A fashionably dressed woman walked over. The sea breeze lifted her skirt, and I happened to see it. She shouted at me, and I frowned and turned away, not wanting to bother with her. But she had no intention of letting it go. She took a few quick steps forward and grabbed my arm. "I'm talking to you. Are you mute?" She raised her hand and swung it at my face. Smack. I grabbed her wrist and said angrily, "I'm not in the mood to fool around with you right now. If you want to act crazy, you've got the wrong person." I flung her hand away. She staggered backward and nearly fell. After steadying herself, she viciously threw out one sentence. "Just you wait. I'll get my sugar daddy to deal with you." She left in her high heels. I kept smoking, looking out at the dark blue sea in the distance. Everyone on this ship was either rich or powerful, but I was in such a terrible mood that I couldn't care less. There were still 80 days left in the voyage. It should be over then, right? I exhaled a thick puff of smoke. I was a simp for 3 years and never even touched her hand. In the end, she dumped me mercilessly for not having a car or a house. Later, a friend introduced me to this cruise ship to relax and travel around the world. I spent all my savings just to buy a ticket. At night, I shared a room with a crew member named Mar and occasionally took odd jobs to cover daily expenses. "Hi, Lin Ye, how did you do today?" Mar asked. "Not bad, $200 in tips. Good luck tonight." I replied from the bed. Mar worked the night shift, got dressed, and left. This cruise ship was called the Galaxy. Publicly, it claimed to offer a 180-day round-the-world voyage, but in reality, it was the world's largest gambling ship, attracting wealthy people from all over the world. Whenever it reached a place, it would stop in international waters, using smaller boats to bring people aboard, and many people would also disembark. In the middle of the night, a sudden storm with heavy rain and fierce winds hit the sea. I was sleeping soundly, and the ship unknowingly drifted off course. In the captain's cabin, First Mate Henry was dead drunk, and the ship was on autopilot. Old Captain Ross was awakened by a startling clap of thunder and, uneasy, got dressed and headed for the bridge. When he saw the ship had veered off course and then saw the drunken Henry collapsed there, he exploded with rage. "My God, you bastard, what have you done? Wake up." Ross was furious. Henry mumbled groggily, "Ross, don't be nervous. I've set the course. No problem. The ship is off course, and you're drinking while on duty. Your career is over." Before he could finish, bang. With a tremendous crash, both men were knocked unconscious. I was jolted awake by the huge noise. Before I could react, the door was kicked open. Mara shouted, "Ye, run." The ship hit a reef, and the cabin is flooding. After saying that, she ran off to bang on doors one by one. I had no time to think. I threw on my clothes and ran out. There was already water in the corridor, and by the time I climbed to the upper deck, it was already packed with people. Some foreign beauties ran out wearing only a pair of underwear. The ship was tilting, and with the waves and the typhoon, I had to grab onto something just to barely keep my footing. After great effort, I squeezed onto the deck, and it was already packed with people. "Oh God, save me. Mom." Sob. "Where's the captain? Where are the sailors? Can anyone tell me what the hell is going on?" The bow had sunk 3 or 4 meters, and the whole ship was tilted at about a 30-degree angle. The torrential rain was sweeping people into the sea, and everywhere were screams, cries, and curses. I saw lifebuoys and life jackets on the side of the ship and was just about to go get them. A man behind me shouted, "Hey you, bring me a lifebuoy and I'll give you 2 million. I turned around. It was the boss of a Hong Kong-listed company, who had once tipped me before. He was clutching the railing, too afraid to move. I ignored him. I quickly put on the life jacket and then slipped on the lifebuoy. Saving my life was the priority now. What good would 2 million be if I died? Someone saw the lifebuoy on me and tried to grab it, but before they could even get close, they slipped on the tilted deck. Some people would even push others into the sea to steal it. "Kid, I'll remember you. Once I get ashore." The Hong Kong boss hadn't finished speaking. Boom. Another deafening crash, and the stern slammed into the reef again. I lost my grip on the railing and slid along the deck toward the bow. A beautiful woman fell with me. From her face, she looked Chinese. Seeing that I had a life jacket and a lifebuoy, she looked as if she saw hope for survival. "Please, give me a lifebuoy, I'm begging you." I couldn't bear to refuse, so I tossed the lifebuoy to her and tied the lifebuoy rope to my life jacket. "Hurry, grab it. Hold on to me tight. The waves are too big." We swam outward, avoiding the crowd struggling in the water. Suddenly I looked back, and the cruise ship was coming straight down on us. Fuck, hold your breath. In an instant we were pressed under the water by the ship's hull. I desperately swam forward, not wanting to be dragged into the deep sea. But the suction was too strong, and no matter how hard I tried it was useless. I don't know how deep we got before I ran out of strength, and the woman beside me also went silent. I swallowed a few mouthfuls of seawater and passed out. Hiss, where's this? I'm still alive. I slowly opened my eyes. My whole body ached, and I was covered in cuts and bruises. The life jacket was long gone. I didn't know where. The glaring sunlight made it impossible to open my eyes. All around were reefs, and not far away was a stretch of beach, with a dense primeval forest behind it. This was an island. Thank goodness I was still alive. My lips were cracked, I was desperately thirsty, and I was also terribly hungry. My thigh had been cut by something unknown, an injury about 10 centimeters long, and the seawater stung like fire. Fortunately, it was only a superficial wound, or I'd have bled dry. I felt in my pocket and found a lighter inside. Hanging from my belt loop was a keychain, and on the keychain was a multi-tool folding knife. Heh, at least I'm better off than Robinson Crusoe. For a heavy smoker, a lighter is never far from hand. I shook off the water and tried it out. Click, a flame sprang up. I gathered some dry branches on the spot and made a fire. With no one around, I took off my clothes to dry them. There were a few coconut trees by the shore. I grew up in the countryside, so climbing trees was easy for me. With some effort, I picked 3 coconuts, smashed them open and drank all 3, then dug out the flesh and ate it, and only then did the hunger gradually fade. After putting my clothes back on, I crawled toward a reef not far away. When I climbed onto the reef, I saw 2 women lying below. It was her. One of them was the woman I had given a lifebuoy to when the cruise ship went down. The lifebuoy on her was gone too. The other had blonde hair and blue eyes, and was only wearing underwear. Her clothes had probably been washed away by the sea. I climbed down from the reef and checked their breathing one by one. They were both still alive. "Wake up! Hey, wake up!" I gently patted her face. When I got closer, I realized this woman was really beautiful, with a curvy figure, an oval face and willow leaf eyebrows, long eyelashes and small lips, black ultra-short leather shorts, and a pair of snow-white long legs. Half my face turned red. The other foreign beauty was almost naked, which made me even more embarrassed. But saving lives came first, so I followed the training we got when boarding the ship. First, I reached a hand into her mouth to check for any foreign objects, then performed CPR. After compressing the long-legged beauty's chest for 2 minutes, just as I was about to give rescue breaths, she coughed a few times, spat out 2 big mouthfuls of water, and woke up. I immediately went to save the blonde girl. After a few minutes of compressions and 2 rounds of rescue breaths, she finally slowly came to. "You're awake." I was so exhausted I was almost collapsing. "Thank you. You saved me again." The long-legged beauty's voice was weak. "That proves we're meant to meet." I stood up. "Oh my God." The blonde girl woke with a scream, covering her body. "What did you do to me? Where are my clothes? I was the one who saved you both. I didn't do anything to you, and I don't know about your clothes. If you don't believe me, ask her." I looked at the long-legged beauty. She nodded, and only then did the blonde girl relax. I was about to leave when the long-legged beauty called out to stop me. "Wait, what's your name? When we get rescued and return, I will definitely reward you handsomely." "My name is Lin Ye. Let's talk about the reward after we get out of here. Even if you gave me 10 million right now, I couldn't spend it." "My name is Huang Ziyu." She tidied her hair and held out her hand to me. I shook it and quickly let go. The blonde girl also bravely walked over. "My name is Luna." "Thank you, Mr. Lin, for saving me. Just now I even mistook you for a pervert." The last word was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. I took off my jacket and handed it to her. "Put this on." Luna took it and put it on. As the sun set, the sea breeze carried a chill. After finishing the coconuts, the 2 of them huddled beside the fire. Before it got dark, I took the chance to go into the woods to gather firewood. Luna voluntarily ran over to help. As darkness fell, I added several armfuls of firewood, and the flames grew bigger, making our bodies a little warmer. But sleeping tonight was going to be tough. There was no shelter, the sea wind was strong, the sand was too cold to lie on, and there were lots of mosquitoes and bugs. I turned around and saw that Luna had already curled up beside Huang Ziyu and fallen asleep. Huang Ziyu stared at the night sky, not knowing what she was thinking about. "If you're cold, I can start another fire on your left," I said. "I'm okay, I can hold on. But you gave your clothes to Luna. If you don't mind, you can come over and rest with us," Huang Ziyu said. I was a little stunned. "Of course I don't mind. Don't get the wrong idea. I know you're not a bad person. Otherwise you wouldn't have saved us. It's cold at night, so we can huddle together for warmth." Her words made me feel that this woman was very thoughtful. If you fall sick, we two weak women really don't know whether we can survive long enough to wait for rescue. I leaned my back against her, and she obviously trembled for a moment before quickly recovering. Warmth came from behind, and I felt much better too. There were so many people on that ship. I wonder how many are still alive. Huang Ziyu took the initiative to speak. "Let's not dwell on it. Whether the three of us can even make it through tonight is still a question." I got up to add firewood, and just as I finished and leaned back again, I suddenly stared motionlessly at the jungle dozens of meters ahead. Those were clearly several pairs of glowing green eyes. Anyone who grew up in the countryside and kept cats or dogs knows that animals' eyes shine at night. With the help of the moonlight, those eyes were fixed on us. "Wolves," I said in a low voice. "What's wrong?" Huang Ziyu sensed that something was off and followed my gaze. "Shoo, don't talk, and don't make any sudden movements." Without turning back, I stared fixedly ahead. I cursed inwardly. Other people start with a system, but I start with just a lighter, and now I even run into NPCs. I lowered myself and slowly moved both hands toward the fire, grabbing 2 burning sticks. Animals are naturally afraid of fire, but hunger can make them overcome fear. "Lin Ye, what do we do now?" Huang Ziyu's voice trembled. "Don't be afraid. We have the fire, and wolves fear fire, so they won't act rashly." I handed 1 burning stick to her and pulled out my folding knife with the other hand. I don't know how long the standoff lasted. We replaced the fire sticks several times, and our bodies had gone stiff. "So sleepy, are you guys still awake?" Luna woke up. "Shoo, Luna, listen to me. Stay still and do everything I say." I made a shushing gesture. "What happened?" Luna looked confused. "There are wolves in the woods," Huang Ziyu whispered in her ear. "Ah, wolves." Luna freaked out on the spot, and her scream shattered the calm of the shore. The pack moved, slowly emerging from the forest. 1, 2, 3, 8 in total. "This is bad." I didn't have time to blame Luna. "Move back, and don't run yet." The pack was still slowly closing in. If we ran now, 2 legs definitely couldn't outrun 4. My brain raced. When I looked back again, Luna's legs had gone weak with fear. Just as I was thinking, the pack suddenly launched an attack. At a distance of several dozen meters, wolves are incredibly fast. I looked out to sea and saw a patch of reefs about 10 meters from shore. "See that patch of reefs in the water? I'll cover the rear. You two run into the sea and swim toward the reefs." Huang Ziyu reacted quickly and dragged the terrified Luna toward the shore. I followed close behind, swinging a wooden club as thick as a cup rim in my hand. By the time they reached the water's edge, the wolves were only 50 meters away from me. But Luna burst into tears. "I can't swim. What do I do?" Huang Ziyu was already in the water, with it up to her chest. "Luna, the water isn't deep. Come here, I'll help you swim. Get in the water now. Do you want to be eaten by wolves?" I shouted. Trembling, Luna waded into the sea, the water rising past her thighs. The pack was 2 or 3 meters from me. I swung my club to hold them off, then dashed into the sea in one stride. I was just about to go help Luna when there was a splash behind me. Holy shit, wolves can swim too. One wolf had entered the water, while the others watched from shore. That was good news, but even one was more than an ordinary person could handle. I swam desperately toward the reefs, but my injured leg made it hard to use any strength. Huang Ziyu came back to pull Luna along, and they swam toward the reefs. I looked back, and the wolf was gone. The 2 of them had already climbed onto the reefs, gasping for breath. "Mr. Lin, watch out behind you," Luna suddenly cried out. Before I could turn around, my foot was bitten. Luckily I had shoes on, otherwise my foot would have been ruined. I kicked back hard, but the wolf wouldn't let go. "Damn it, does this ever end? Then let's do this." I sucked in a sharp breath, wrapped both arms around the wolf's neck, forced it under the water, and stabbed wildly with my knife. The blade was too short and only caused superficial wounds. The wolf let go in pain, and in the violent struggle, the knife fell away. It tried to bite my throat, but there was no way I was giving it the chance. I grabbed its head with both hands and pressed my body against it from behind. Now it was a matter of who could hold their breath longer. The wolf was choking on seawater and struggling harder and harder, and I was reaching my limit too. If you don't drown soon, I'm not going to last. I bit my leg, used my fingers to untie my shoelace, looped it around the wolf's neck, and tied a dead knot. Then I let go, kicked the wolf away, and without caring whether it was dead or not, got to the surface first. Breathing and staying alive came first. When I broke the surface, it felt as though a century had passed. I could hear them shouting by my ears. The moment Huang Ziyu saw me surface, she sprinted and jumped into the water, swimming to my side in a little over 10 seconds. I had no strength left and let her drag me toward the reefs. Luna helped pull me up. Are you okay? Where's the wolf? Huang Ziyu asked. I'm fine, just exhausted, and I swallowed a few mouthfuls of seawater. I looked out at the sea. Look, over there. Luna pointed. The wolf was floating motionless on the surface 2 or 3 meters from the reefs. We were out of danger, but there was no way back to shore tonight. I looked toward the beach. The remaining wolves were still guarding it. The 3 of us collapsed on the reefs, soaked through, the sea wind cutting to the bone. The 2 girls hugged each other, shivering. I felt in my pocket. My lighter and folding knife were both gone. Lin Ye, what do we do now? Huang Ziyu's lips had turned blue with the cold. What else can we do? Leave it to fate. A trace of despair flashed in Luna's eyes. Awoo! The wild wolves on shore howled at the body of their companion in the sea. After howling a few times, they all ran into the jungle. What's going on? I was completely baffled. They'd just been fighting to the death, and now they all ran? The wolves are gone. Should we go ashore? I asked them. If we don't, we'll freeze to death. If we do, we're afraid the pack will come back. But I want to go up. The campfire on the beach is still there. At least we won't freeze to death. If the wolves come back, we'll swim back over. I want to go up. I want to go ashore too. They both said in unison. All right, you 2 swim over first. I'll bring the wolf's body back. After all, wolf meat is still meat. We've only had a few coconuts all day. How could we possibly hold out against hunger? When Huang Ziyu and Luna got into the sea and started swimming toward shore, Lin Ye turned around and was about to swim toward the wild wolf's body when, fuck, a shark. Don't look back, you 2. Swim to shore faster. Lin Ye said in shock. No wonder the pack left. They detected the shark's arrival in advance, thinking they'd be buried in the shark's jaws. Lin Ye had stabbed the wolf's belly with the folding knife, and the blood drew the shark in. That shark is a real bully in the sea. Getting bitten by that thing isn't just a bruise or a black and blue mark. Lin Ye didn't care about wolf meat anymore. His life was the priority. He hurriedly swam toward the shore. Maybe because the wolf corpse was bleeding and was more attractive to the shark, it didn't chase Lin Ye and the others at all. By the time the 3 swam ashore, the shark had also instantly torn the wolf's body apart and devoured it clean. And another shark swam over along the route Lin Ye had taken back. Thankfully, Lin Ye and the others had already reached shore. That shark has a better nose than a wolf. Lin Ye spat and said, Come on, let's hurry to the campfire, or we'll really freeze to death. The 2 of them obediently agreed. When they got to the fire, Lin Ye added a lot more firewood. Of course, he still picked a relatively thick stick and held it in his hand, ready to deal with the wolves at any moment. At least he had something in hand, right? Seeing the 2 beauties not saying a word, they must have been frightened. Even Lin Ye thought tonight's events were a bit absurd. Wolves in front, sharks behind, and the lighter and folding knife they relied on for survival were gone too. By the time their clothes dried, judging by the moon's position, it was probably the second half of the night. Luna, can you come with me? Lin Ye heard Huang Ziyu whispering to Luna beside him. I'm afraid of wolves. Luna said fearfully at this moment. Don't you want to? We drank so much coconut juice during the day, and it's just the 2 of us girls here to keep each other company. Next time you go, I'll go with you. Huang Ziyu was also coaxing and pressuring her. I just now already. As Luna spoke, lit by the firelight, her face turned even redder. Hearing this, Lin Ye almost laughed out loud. It was probably that Huang Ziyu wanted to go pee and wanted Luna to accompany her, while Luna was scared and had probably been frightened into peeing herself just now, and didn't want to go pee at the moment. But after Huang Ziyu kept coaxing her, Luna still agreed to her request. Lin Ye, you're not allowed to peek. Huang Ziyu said shyly. Don't worry, I won't peek. If I do look, I'll look openly. Lin Ye said with a lewd smile. You big pervert. Huang Ziyu was a bit urgent, and at this moment, it wasn't the time to bicker with Lin Ye. She pulled Luna along, turning back every few steps to look at Lin Ye, worried that he would sneak a peek. But at this moment, Lin Ye really wasn't in the mood to peek anyway. It was so dark that there was no way he could see clearly. Probably because they were scared, the two of them hadn't gone far, since the beach was too quiet, with only the occasional sound of waves. Lin Ye shook his head and didn't pay much attention to that side either. Not long after, when the two of them came back. We can't stay here. There are wolves in the forest and sharks in the sea. There's no way to stay here. I'm planning to go look at the other side of the beach. What about you two? Lin Ye said to them in a negotiating tone. Besides, even if we stay here, we won't survive, even if there's food. Without fresh water, we won't last a few days. Lin Ye is right. Even if we don't have food, we can still hold on for a few days, but without water, with the sun blazing tomorrow, we may not be able to hold out. Huang Ziyu also strongly agreed with Lin Ye's view. And wolves have appeared here. Wolves are animals that repay grudges. We killed one of their companions, and there may be no peace after this. Lin Ye had to state the facts. As soon as she heard that there would still be wolves coming, Luna said fearfully, I'll listen to you. Wherever you go, I'll go. I'm not saying that you have to follow me. It's just that whether I can survive on my own is still a question, and maybe you have other choices. Lin Ye answered after some inner struggle. As soon as Huang Ziyu heard this, she immediately suspected that Lin Ye wanted to shake them off, and said right away, Lin Ye, do you think the two of us are a burden? Do the two of us have any other choice now? We two weak women really can't survive in this kind of environment. When Luna heard Huang Ziyu say that, she also chimed in. Yes, Mr. Lin, it's very hard for the two of us weak women to survive. Don't worry, Mr. Lin, the two of us can work. We definitely won't drag you down, and we'll absolutely listen. Huang Ziyu also replied. Lin Ye could only say helplessly after hearing this. I'm not trying to abandon you. It's just that I can barely protect myself, and I'm afraid I won't be able to protect you properly. Since you chose to follow me, then fine. From now on we're a small team. You must listen to me from now on and follow my orders. There are no free riders in the team. Starting tomorrow, I'll assign tasks. Okay. Huang Ziyu was about to say something else, when Luna hurriedly grabbed Huang Ziyu's hand and quickly motioned for her not to say anything more. Actually, Lin Ye didn't want it to be like this, but there was nothing he could do about two rich young ladies. If he wasn't strict with them, how could they survive in this kind of environment? Not only would they need to work, but while working he would also have to teach them all kinds of wilderness survival skills. Otherwise, relying on Lin Ye alone would not work. Alright, you two get some sleep first. I'll keep watch. Tomorrow morning, we'll go look for shelter. Lin Ye also didn't want to put too much pressure on them. Let's take it one day at a time. More than an hour passed. Lin Ye, get some sleep. I'll take the next watch. After all, once it's daylight we'll still have to rely on you. As Huang Ziyu spoke, she walked over to Lin Ye. After fighting with the wild wolf and a whole night of exhaustion, Lin Ye didn't stand on ceremony with Huang Ziyu anymore. Okay, wake me up anytime if anything happens. Don't worry. It's almost dawn, so there probably won't be any problems. Go to sleep for a while. Huang Ziyu said. Companions who have gone through life and death are the ones who can withstand the test. Although they hadn't known each other for long, by now Lin Ye had already become her pillar of support. Huang Ziyu also didn't want Lin Ye to think she was just a vase, someone who had no use to him at all, which was why she proactively offered to keep watch. Sister Ziyu, come look. There are so many little crabs on this beach. In his sleep, Lin Ye heard Luna's not-so-fluent Chinese. He slowly opened his eyes and saw that Huang Ziyu was holding what looked like a lush bunch of leaves she had picked from somewhere, above Lin Ye's head, blocking the glaring sunlight. You're awake, Lin Ye, Huang Ziyu said with a smile. How long have you been holding that pose? You could have woken me up. Lin Ye now found this woman a little adorably silly. The sun hasn't been up long. I just wanted you to get some good rest. As Huang Ziyu spoke, her stomach growled. Hearing Huang Ziyu's words, Lin Ye felt a little touched. And hearing her stomach growling from hunger, he was a little hungry too. Since last night, he had only eaten some coconut meat. I just heard Luna over there calling out about crabs. I'll go take a look and, while I'm at it, see if there's any other food. As Lin Ye said this, he got up and walked toward the sea. I'll go with you. Huang Ziyu followed closely behind. Mr. Lin, you're awake. Look, I caught lots of crabs. Luna also said excitedly as she saw the two of us coming over, looking at the few tiny ones in her hand. Barely enough to fill a gap between the teeth. But no matter how small a fly is, it's still meat. The crabs on the beach are indeed not small, and the slightly bigger ones probably she wouldn't dare catch. How about this? You two first catch some crabs here, and I'll go pick the remaining coconuts. Lin Ye said. Can you do it? Your leg is still injured, and that coconut tree is pretty tall. Huang Ziyu said worriedly, looking at the tree's straight trunk. Of course, no problem. I grew up in the countryside, and climbing trees to raid bird nests is what I do best. This little injury is nothing." To show off a bit in front of the beauty, Lin Ye also forced himself to endure the pain in his leg, climbed the coconut tree, and picked all of the few coconuts left on it, showing that he was the leader of this team. Looking at the coconuts on the ground, Lin Ye was calculating in his mind. Later, each person would eat 2, and the remaining 5 would be kept for use on the way when we go to the other side of the beach. We still haven't found fresh water, so save wherever possible. Lin Ye went into the jungle and found some vines to make a simple net bag, packed all the coconuts, and walked back toward the 2 of them. So many coconuts. Luna couldn't hold any more in her hands. All crabs, but not a single decent one. The problem was there wasn't anything to put them in. "You 2 go to the fire first and add some firewood. I'll go look by the sea and see if there are any slightly bigger crabs." Lin Ye wasn't expecting the 2 of them to catch any big crabs, so he told them to go tend the fire. "Take the coconuts back." Lin Ye handed the coconuts to the 2 of them and went to look for crabs under the rocks by the beach. When he got under the rocks, there were indeed quite a lot of sand crabs, but they weren't very big. Just as Lin Ye was sighing, a blinding streak of sunlight flashed by, and he squinted to look. Under the rocks, on the sea surface, there was a blue combination lock suitcase, just floating there on the water, rising and falling with the rhythm of the waves. From time to time, sunlight would shine on the suitcase's reflective surface. This should be something from the ship. Lin Ye threw down the crab and jumped into the sea to haul the suitcase ashore. The stuff of rich people is really good. This ceiling, this quality. Lin Ye didn't bother with the crabs anymore, tossed the suitcase on the shore, and also brought up 3 or 4 mineral water bottles from the corner of the rocks. On this deserted island, these mineral water bottles are a valuable resource. Lin Ye dragged the suitcase back to the fire. Where did this come from?" Huang Ziyu said in surprise. "I didn't catch any crabs. I found it under the rocks just now." Lin Ye tossed the mineral water bottles to Luna and said, "These bottles are yours to keep. Don't lose them." Luna was still sitting foolishly by the fire. Only after hearing Lin Ye's words did she quickly turn around and say, Okay, I'll make sure to keep them safe." Huang Ziyu walked over and took my suitcase. "This box should belong to a dead person, right? My lady, we're practically about to go meet Buddha ourselves, and you're still worried about this?" Lin Ye replied irritably. "Besides, what if there's something useful inside? Wouldn't our chances of surviving be higher?" Ignoring the astonishment on the girl's face, Lin Ye directly forced the suitcase open. When he opened it, what appeared before them was a pile of designer clothes. Luna also came over to search through it, but unfortunately, they were all men's clothes. Luna was a little disappointed. Up to now, she was still only wearing her lace-trimmed panties plus Lin Ye's coat. Under the clothes, they also found an unopened box of Durex, which made Huang Ziyu blush, while Luna looked at Lin Ye with a mischievous grin. Lin Ye pretended not to notice and continued searching. After taking everything out, all they found was a razor, a box of Durex, and a phone charger. There wasn't really anything useful. Luna, however, found a pair of pants that fit, and without any coyness, she put them on right in front of Lin Ye. "This sweatshirt should fit you." Lin Ye tossed a sweatshirt to Huang Ziyu, then picked out a shirt for himself and put it on. Huang Ziyu held the clothes in her hands, her eyes showing a bit of hesitation. The clothes were a little damp, probably from seawater getting in, but once worn, they dried quickly. Lin Ye didn't force her. It would be fine once she figured it out herself. At a time like this, why keep agonizing over whether they belong to a dead person or not? "Mr. Lin, I smashed all those crabs to death, but I don't know how to roast them," Luna said to Lin Ye after putting on the pants. "Just call me Lin Ye. Being called Mr. sounds weird." Lin Ye looked at Luna. Only after she had put on pants did his gaze dare to properly rest on her. "Okay." Lin Ye walked over to the campfire and saw that the girl had smashed the crabs to bits. Brutal enough. Lin Ye gave Luna a thumbs up. Luna stuck out her tongue helplessly. The crabs weren't enough to fill their stomachs, at most just a taste. They'd still have to rely on coconut flesh to stave off hunger. After eating, Lin Ye found a pile of small branches and made a simple little wooden frame. He picked the burned charcoal out of the fire and laid a thick layer of wood ash at the bottom of the small wooden frame. The 2 women watched Lin Ye's actions without understanding what he was doing. Ignoring their confusion, Lin Ye continued by placing a few burning coals on the wood ash, then covering them with several pieces of charcoal, and finally covering that with wood ash. Only after finishing all this did Lin Ye slowly explain. "The lighter fell into the sea while we were being chased by wild wolves, so we can only preserve the fire this way. But we have to find shelter immediately. If it rains, we're done for." After hearing this, the 2 women nodded half understanding. Let's go, we're setting off. Carrying the suitcase on his shoulder, Lin Ye. Luna carried the coconuts and mineral water bottles, while Huang Ziyu took on the important task of preserving the fire. The three of them headed toward the other side of the beach. Lin Ye, do you think we'll still get rescued? Huang Ziyu asked on the way. I don't know, but I think there should be a rescue operation. After all, this incident is no small matter. Everyone involved is a globally famous tycoon, Lin Ye replied. By the way, how did you end up on the ship? Lin Ye asked teasingly, but Huang Ziyu merely pouted and said nothing. Luna, however, said, I boarded the ship with my father for a vacation. And on the night of the accident, I even told my father that after we got off the ship, he should come with me to Africa to see the great grasslands. As she spoke, Luna started crying. Life and death are fated. Wealth and honor are in heaven's hands. This island is so big, yet we all survived. Your father is probably blessed with good fortune too, Lin Ye said comfortingly. Let's hope so. After hearing Luna say that, Lin Ye also felt a bit heavy-hearted, wondering whether he could still return to the country. The three of them walked forward in silence all the way. After walking about 3 or 4 li, each of them had already drunk 1 coconut jelly along the way. The three were walking along the coast, but there was no path ahead, and they would have to detour a long way before they could continue along the shore. So they could only go through the jungle to get around it. Luna was a little scared, so Lin Ye asked her to walk at the back. He picked up a relatively long wooden stick and slowly walked inward step by step. I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you. Don't hit me, please. Shoo, do you hear something? Lin Ye stopped, turned back, and asked softly. It sounds like someone talking. Huang Ziyu also stopped and listened carefully. Luna also replied anxiously in her half-baked Chinese. I heard it too. It's a woman's voice. Don't make a sound. Something feels off. Let's slowly sneak over and take a look first. At this moment, Lin Ye couldn't tell whether they were friend or foe. So he chose to observe in secret first, because what he had just heard sounded a bit like a woman begging for mercy. As the three of them slowly moved along through the grass, they saw a clearing in the middle of the jungle about the size of a basketball court. On the right side of the clearing stood a towering tree, and beside it was a small pond. Seeing that pond, Lin Ye's eyes lit up subtly. Damn, that nasty bitch won't behave without a beating. Through the gaps in the grass, Lin Ye looked over and saw that the speaker was a vicious-looking fat man. Lin Ye counted them. There were 5 people in total, 3 men and 2 women. At this moment, the 2 women were kneeling on the ground, their clothes also in tatters, looking as if they were fleeing a famine. Then a short man on the left walked up to the fat man and said ingratiatingly, Brother Hua, don't be angry. It's just these 2 women now. If you beat them to death, wouldn't you have nowhere to vent your anger? Humph, killing them would even save food. The fat man replied viciously, then turned to ask another tall man, Ague, did you go to the beach? Any rescue team? Brother Hua, I made a huge SOS sign on the beach, and there haven't been any passing ships on the sea these past 2 days. The tall man spoke in a very low voice. On hearing this, Brother Hua stood up and kicked the 2 women opposite him once each, cursing, damn it, what a lousy ship. I've spent several million and still haven't had enough fun yet. And now I've ended up stranded in this godforsaken place. When I get back, I'm definitely going to make the William family give me an explanation. I won't rest until they compensate me. How can they do this? Is there no law anymore? Hearing this, Huang Ziyu wanted to rush out and stop Brother Hua. Seeing that, Lin Ye was so frightened that he quickly grabbed her hand. Are you crazy? Don't even mention going out to stop them now. You might not even know whether you'd be beaten or humiliated if you went over there yourself. There are 3 men. Can you beat them? Don't count on me. I'm not even enough for them to fill their teeth. Hearing Lin Ye's words, Huang Ziyu also calmed down a little. Lin Ye softened his tone and analyzed the pros and cons for her. We don't even know where we are now, on this deserted island, let alone the law. Even if they killed you and dumped the body right now, no one would know. After hearing Lin Ye's words, Luna also took Huang Ziyu's hand and said, Sister Ziyu, let's not meddle in other people's business. Just by looking at that fat guy, you can tell he's no good. Let's hurry and leave, go around them. Otherwise it'll be bad if they notice us. I'm a grown man, so it doesn't matter much. But the 2 of you pretty girls will probably suffer if anything happens, Lin Ye said. After hearing Lin Ye's words, Huang Ziyu also nodded. During the past 2 days with Lin Ye, he had indeed not done anything improper to the 2 of them, and he had even helped them survive. Looking at Hua Gu and his group, once they left the civilized world, their inner evil was laid bare. TCH, perverted man. Once I get out, I'll definitely call the police and have them arrested. Huang Ziyu said fiercely. Let's go. Stop being all righteous and indignant. Afraid she'd act impulsively, Lin Ye took Huang Ziyu's hand and headed back, preparing to go around them. Seeing Lin Ye holding her hand, Huang Ziyu was a bit dazed. From childhood to adulthood, only her dad had ever held her hand like that. After walking several hundred meters, they finally left Hua Ji's territory. Because the jungle was relatively dense, they didn't dare walk too fast, and in the distance they saw a patch of rocks. Lin Ye, you can let go of my hand now, Huang Ziyu said shyly. Lin Ye turned back and realized he was still holding her small hand. His old face also reddening, he awkwardly said, that. I was just afraid you'd act impulsively, so I held your hand to walk. Wow, brother Lin Ye, you're so shy? Holding sister Ziyu's hand makes you blush, Luna said teasingly. What are you talking about? I'm just hot. Wasn't it because I was afraid she'd act impulsively that I held her hand? Lin Ye felt a bit guilty. Then do you like sister Ziyu? Luna planned to keep pressing Lin Ye. Seeing Lin Ye fight wolves and climb trees to pick coconuts, acting like he could do anything, she loved seeing him flustered. All right, stop bickering. If we still can't find a water source, we're going to die of thirst. Seeing Lin Ye embarrassed, Huang Ziyu quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Lin Ye also hurriedly said, right. If we can't find fresh water, you little foreign girl will be the first to die of thirst. Luna also stuck out her tongue and made a face at Lin Ye. As for water, I've got a way. Right now our main goal is to find a shelter. Lin Ye already had a plan in mind. What do you mean? The two asked in unison. You don't need to worry about that. Let's go take a look under the rocks ahead. From my experience, this kind of rock should have a cave formed by flowing water. As Lin Ye spoke, he took the wooden stick and walked toward the rocks. Look, there's a cave over there. Lin Ye looked up in the direction Huang Ziyu was pointing. There really is, but it's way too high, isn't it? Lin Ye was a bit speechless. The cave entrance was about big enough to fit 2 adults, but it was 7 or 8 meters above the ground. In an environment like this is indeed a very large shelter, and it can also keep out wild beasts. It's just that I don't know how big it is inside. Lin Ye, it's too high, and the cliff face is too smooth. Better not go up. Huang Ziyu was worried that Lin Ye might fall and get injured while climbing, so she advised him. Lin Ye looked at the cave mouth, where some vines and small trees extended down. Climbing up should not be a problem for him. I'll go up first and take a look, see how big the cave is and whether it's some beast den or something. Seeing that Huang Ziyu seemed about to say more, Lin Ye directly sprang upward, leaving her with a dashing back view. This cliff face seemed smooth and steep, but with some grass and vines to use as leverage, it wasn't too hard for Lin Ye to climb up. However, for the 2 girls below, it would not be easy to climb up. When Lin Ye finally managed to reach up and grab the cave entrance, the back of his hand suddenly felt a stinging pain like being pecked by a chicken. Damn it! The pain made Lin Ye grit his teeth. The cliff edge he had just grabbed loosened, and he nearly fell off. Lin Ye, be careful. Huang Ziyu also saw Lin Ye's situation from below. Brother Lin Ye, you'd better come down. It's too dangerous. Luna also chimed in. Lin Ye tightly gripped the tree root in the crack of the rock wall with his left hand, finally managing to steady himself. That said, the plants growing in the crack were indeed quite tough. Don't let the fact that this root is only the size of a thumb fool you. Lin Ye felt it should be able to bear the weight of 2 adult men without any problem. I'm fine. I just got bitten by something a moment ago. Lin Ye shouted at the 2 of them. Looking at the back of his right hand, a bit of skin had been scraped off, and it was somewhat red. Luckily, it wasn't a snake bite, or he'd be done for. A snake bite should leave 2 parallel little holes. Judging from the wound, it didn't look like a snake. Lin Ye felt relieved. At this moment, the cave opening was only about 20 centimeters away from Lin Ye. When he looked up, 2 little golden cuties were staring at Lin Ye. It turned out to be 2 young eagles. He didn't know what species they were, but judging by their color, they were probably golden eagles. Heh, you little things still dare peck at me? Just wait till I get up there and roast you to eat. Lin Ye shouted and quickly moved toward the cave entrance. When he climbed up to the opening, the 2 little guys were so scared by Lin Ye that they burrowed into the cave mouth and hid in the deepest part, not moving at all, their 4 eyes fixed on Lin Ye. Lin Ye stood at the entrance and looked in. The cave inside wasn't big, just enough for 3 adults to lie down flat. The entrance was the golden eagle's nest. Beside the nest was also a pile of bones and fur from small animals. So he'd broken into a golden eagle's nest. Lin Ye thought quietly. But this was indeed the best shelter, and Lin Ye didn't want to give it up. Since the eagle dad and eagle mom aren't home, I need to figure out a way quickly. Should I roast them and eat them? That thought flashed through Lin Ye's mind. No, Golden eagles are birds of prey to begin with. If he ate these two little guys, it would probably end in endless trouble. Lin Ye looked at the two little screeching eagles in the corner, but in the end he still didn't have any good solution. When Lin Ye returned to the ground, Huang Ziyu asked, "What's going on up there? I just saw something attack you." "There's a golden eagle's nest up there with two little screeching eagles, but the big eagle isn't around. Probably went out to look for food," Lin Ye said with a wave of his hand. Huang Ziyu heard that and said, "Then let's find another place, in case the big eagle comes back and thinks we're enemies. It's also getting dark now, and wild beasts will come out at night. I think this place is pretty good. I don't want to give it up. Like this, you two wait here for me a moment. I'll be back soon," Lin Ye said as he plunged into the woods. This cave could protect them from the island's beasts, and they wouldn't need to take night watches when sleeping. Lin Ye really didn't want to give it up. He wanted to find some vines and branches in the woods, use the vines to make a simple ladder, and the branches to make a fence. Using the fence to separate the golden eagle's nest would prevent the big eagle from coming back and attacking them. Even in daylight, the woods looked very dim, and there was always the possibility of tripping. "Huh, what's this? Mushrooms?" Lin Ye hadn't gone far, only about 200 meters, and while pulling on the vines, he found a pile of mushrooms beneath his feet. Red caps, white stems. Eat them and we'll all lie flat together. These are completely white mushrooms. There shouldn't be any poison, right? Lin Ye thought of a joke he'd seen online. These mushrooms had signs of being nibbled on. It should have been mice and birds. They probably aren't poisonous. Seeing that some of the mushrooms had been eaten, Lin Ye didn't think about it too much and picked a pile while he was at it. "Sister Ziyu, I'm so hungry. I feel like I could eat a whole cow right now," Luna said weakly while leaning on Huang Ziyu. "I'm a little hungry too. How about when Lin Ye comes back later, we discuss going out to look for food," Huang Zi said, rubbing her stomach as well. When Lin Ye came back carrying a bundle of branches on his back and a handful of vines in his right hand, with mushrooms wrapped in his shirt hanging from his left hand, he came back to see these two silly girls sitting on the ground, leaning against each other. Lin Ye is back. Seeing Lin Ye return, Huang Ziyu helped Luna to her feet and said, "Ziyu, slowly spread out the embers we brought over and find some dry leaves to get the fire going," Lin Ye instructed. Then Lin Ye Gidge, "What do I need to do?" Luna volunteered. "Go pick up some branches nearby. We'll make a fire here in a bit and clean these mushrooms while we're at it," Lin Ye said, looking at Luna. "Okay, I'll go right away." Luna clapped her hands and started looking around nearby, while Huang Ziyu also picked up some leaves and worked hard blowing on the embers. Fortunately, it hadn't been long since they brought it over. Otherwise, if too much time had passed, the embers might have gone out. Watching the two of them working, Lin Ye also got busy. First, he made a simple vine ladder with the vines, then carried the branches and the vine ladder on his back and climbed toward the rock cave again. When he got up there, he saw that the two little silly birds had already returned to the nest. And when they saw Lin Ye arrive, they cautiously shrank back into the corner of the rock wall again. Lin Ye ignored them and directly used branches to separate off their nest. This rock cave was only about 1.2 meters high, so you had to bend over after climbing up. If you weren't careful, you'd bump your head. He wedged the branches one by one between the top and bottom of the cave, and there was no need for any rope to secure them. This way, he only left the golden eagle's nest on the right side of the entrance and partitioned off the left side with branches, just enough for one person to crawl in, using the remaining branches to make a simple door blocking the cave entrance. If the eagle dad and eagle mom came back, it could keep them outside. If the big eagle was there, getting in and out would probably be inconvenient, and it would be easy to get attacked. By the time Lin Ye finished all this and came down, it was almost dark, but he still hadn't seen the big eagle return. Lin Ye Gidge, "These mushrooms don't have any water on them, but I cleaned them with my hands." Luna came up to Lin Ye holding the white mushrooms and said. Lin Ye saw that Huang Ziyu had also gotten the fire going. "It's fine, a little dirt won't hurt." At this point, there was no point worrying about parasites or anything like that. Having something to eat was already good enough. Lin Ye opened the lockbox, removed the razor blade, and used it to sharpen a few wooden skewers, stuck the mushrooms onto the skewers, and set them over the fire to roast. "Lin Ye, can we eat this?" Huang Ziyu was a little doubtful. That question even made Lin Ye lose confidence. "I don't know either, but it should be fine. I saw signs that small animals had eaten them." Luna also cast a doubtful look. "Don't worry, I'll eat first in a bit, and you can see whether I get poisoned. If I don't get poisoned, then you can eat them." Although Lin Ye was fairly sure in his heart that these mushrooms weren't poisonous, he couldn't very well back down in front of the two of them. "Lin Ye, if it's a mushroom you don't recognize, you'd better not eat it. If you test poison on yourself like this, there isn't a hospital here, Huang Ziyu said worriedly. Yeah, Lin Ye Gidge, at worst we can endure a little longer. There's still one coconut left. We can split it and eat it, then go to the beach tomorrow to look for food. Luna also hurriedly tried to persuade him. Don't worry, I grew up in the countryside. I've eaten this kind of mushroom before, I just can't remember its name. As he spoke, Lin Ye tossed a mushroom into his mouth and started chewing. Had this taste, how should I put it? It feels like chewing wax. No oil and no salt, dry roasted mushrooms. This taste really hits hard. Lin Ye ate a piece and waited for about 10 minutes. There should be no problem, but the taste really is awful. Mainly because there are no seasonings at all. After Lin Ye finished speaking, Huang Ziyu also tore off a small piece and put it in her mouth. Her brows instantly furrowed deeply, but she still silently swallowed it. Luna also picked up a small piece and put it in her mouth, but before she had chewed a few times. Tui, what is this? It's completely inedible. As she spoke, she threw the mushroom aside. Actually, this kind of wild mushroom tastes pretty good when boiled into soup in a pot. It's sweet and tender, and adding it to chicken soup makes it simply delicious. Lin Ye picked up another piece of mushroom and said while chewing. It was fine not mentioning it, but as soon as he did, Luna's stomach began to protest. Gur, seeing Luna's delicate and pitiful look, Lin Ye could only think helplessly. At least we still have mushrooms to eat now. But in a few days, who knows what we'll be eating. Looking at Huang Ziyu, Lin Ye also showed a troubled expression. How about this, you two eat that coconut. If you can eat the mushrooms, then eat them. If not, just leave them there. I'll go out and look for a water source. Hearing Lin Ye's words, Huang Ziyu also put down the mushroom in her hand and said, Where are you going to look for a water source? It's getting dark soon, and the woods aren't safe. I have a way. If I still haven't come back before dark, then climb up into the rock cave along this vine ladder and close the wooden door. That'll be safer. Lin Ye tucked a few roasted mushrooms into his pocket and said. Huang Ziyu was also rather worried. Brother Lin Ye, how about we go together tomorrow morning? The coconut can be shared among the three of us. Seeing Lin Ye going alone to look for a water source, Luna said, not knowing whether she was worried that Lin Ye would abandon them or was truly worried about his safety. Yeah, Lin Ye, let's go look together tomorrow morning. Huang Ziyu also stood up to persuade him. It's fine. I know where there is a water source, and if we wait until tomorrow morning, it might not be easy to get water. Seeing Lin Ye's resolute expression, Huang Ziyu found it hard to say anything more. She rummaged through the suitcase and pulled out another jacket. Put this jacket on. There are quite a lot of poisonous insects and thorny bushes in the woods. As she spoke, she handed the jacket to Lin Ye. Lin Ye looked at her. This girl really was the more thoughtful one. Lin Ye put on the jacket, took a few mineral water bottles, and headed in the direction they had come from. Remember, if I still haven't returned by dark, you must go up into the rock cave and make sure the wooden door is closed properly. After walking a few steps, Lin Ye still didn't forget to remind the two girls again. Where was Lin Ye going to get water? Of course, to Brother Hua's place. With nightfall approaching, he wanted to see if he could secretly fill a few bottles of water while they weren't paying attention. Lin Ye walked step by step along the path he had come by, calculating the distance in his mind. It was about 2 li or so. Once he walked out of the woods, he would be able to see that big tree, and the location was easy to identify. Brother Hua, this is our last bit of food. Gue said to Brother Hua while holding a pack of instant noodles, along with a few other unidentified packages. Damn it, a living person can't just sit around and wait to die of thirst or hunger. Go out and find food. If you can't find food, don't even think about eating. Brother Hua pointed at the short, sleazy man and said, Brother Hua, no, I don't want to go. There are wild beasts in the woods, the short, sleazy man said. Then do you want to starve to death? Be obedient. As long as you find food, no matter what it is, as long as it's edible, you can pick one of these 2 women, and I'll have her keep you company for a night. Brother Hua pointed at the 2 women and said to the short, sleazy man in a gentle voice, But if you don't go, I'll break your damn legs and throw you into the woods to feed the wolves. Brother Hua then changed his tone again and spoke viciously. This Brother Hua was a Hong Kong underworld boss named Xiong Hua. Lin Ye had seen him on the casino ship before, and Gue was his top enforcer. This Brother Hua is ruthless and cruel. If a waiter offends him by accident, the lightest punishment is a beating, the worst is being thrown into the sea to feed the fish. I'll go, Brother Hua, once I find food. You can't go back on your word and let that girl spend the night with me. Hearing Brother Hua's words, the short sleazy man also said after weighing the pros and cons in his mind. Don't worry, Xiong always keep my word. Brother Hua patted the sleazy man on the shoulder and said. At this moment, not far away, Lin Ye was secretly crouching in the bushes, silently watching this scene. The two women had their legs tied with strips torn from clothes, while Brother Hua and Gui sat under a big tree, and the sleazy man had already left. This was not far from the water pool, and the water would not be easy to get. Looking at the few people sitting nearby, if he wanted to bypass their line of sight and secretly fetch water, it really didn't seem possible. Wait a little longer and see if there's a chance. Lin Ye wasn't in a hurry either, just crouched in the bushes like that. Who knows how long passed, and by then it had also grown dark. Brother Hua, go up first. Don't wait for Park Guangchong. Gui walked over to Brother Hua and said, I'll go up first. In a moment you get them up too. Brother Hua said as he climbed up the tree. Lin Ye, not far away, watched their movements. Could it be that they live in the tree? With the faint light, he watched Brother Hua climb up the tree step by step. It looked like some climbable hollows had been carved into the trunk. No wonder, watching Brother Hua climb, it seemed pretty easy. Then once they're all up there, wouldn't I be able to secretly fetch water? But why are they resting in the tree? Lin Ye thought to himself. After Brother Hua went up, Gui untied the cloth strips on the two women and urged them to climb up as well. When Gui was the last one to climb up, this clearing became exceptionally quiet. Lin Ye picked some leaves and tied them to his body, slowly crawling toward the water pool so as not to alarm Brother Hua and the others. Even if they discovered Lin Ye could quickly run away. But Lin Ye didn't want to conflict with them, nor did he want them to know there were other survivors on this island. Sometimes people are more terrifying than beasts. Lin Ye slowly crawled to the edge of the water pool and filled the bottle with mineral water. Looking up at the big tree, he still couldn't make out Brother Hua and the others at all. At this time, it still wasn't completely dark, and one could still see beyond 20 meters. After filling the water, Lin Ye slowly crawled back into the bushes, preparing to leave. Help! Brother Hua, help! From afar came the voice of the short, sleazy man. Lin Ye flipped over and crouched in the bushes, motionless, looking toward the source of the sound. The short, sleazy man tumbled out of the woods, still shouting, "There's a black bear! Brother Hua, help me!" Brother Hua also heard the commotion at this point, and cursing voices came from the tree. Damn it! Park Guangchong, you fucking knew it was a black bear and still dared to lead it over. Only now did Lin Ye know that the short, sleazy man was called Park Guangchong. Hearing that name, he was probably from Korea. Brother Hua, I didn't want this either. It wouldn't stop chasing me. Park Guangchong couldn't care less about Brother Hua's abuse and climbed up the tree in just a few steps. After Park Guangchong climbed into the tree, a huge black mass burst out of the jungle. It was actually a brown bear, and by its size it was probably as big as a small water buffalo. It chased after Park Guangchong and came to the big tree where they were. The two women on the tree also screamed in terror after seeing the bear. Damn it, useless trash, hurry up and think of a way to lure it away. Seeing that the bear also wanted to climb up, Brother Hua. He was so frightened that he quickly kept climbing, but the trunk above was too slippery, and he had only climbed a short distance before stopping. Watching the brown bear still roaring below, Hua Gu said to Gui, Gui, go throw him down to feed the bear. Maybe once it's full it'll leave. No, Hua Gu, throw a woman down instead. Keep me. I'm more useful. I can find food for you guys. Pao Guchong hurriedly said after hearing Hua Ji's words. Hua Gu, keep him for now. Maybe he'll still be useful, and it'll be dark soon. Hearing Gui's words, Hua Gu fell into deep thought, as if something even more terrifying would happen after dark. That's right, Hua Gu, keep me around. I still have uses. I'll go find food first thing tomorrow at daybreak. Pao Guchong hurriedly said. Gui glanced at Pao Guchong, then lowered his head and stared fixedly at the brown bear. Suddenly it stood up like a human, then wrapped its forelimbs around the tree trunk and began to climb. That speed shocked even Gui. Damn, Gui faced a formidable enemy, but he did not retreat. He quickly grabbed a branch above with both hands, his body swinging lightly before he seized the moment and lashed out with his legs like lightning, kicking accurately at the brown bear's massive head. The force of the kick was tremendous, and the bear was sent staggering, falling from the trunk. Bang! Its huge body crashed to the ground with a heavy thud. The brown bear refused to give up. Instead, it became even more furious, quickly got back up, and continued climbing the big tree. Gui was already fully on guard as well. After this repeated several times, both the brown bear and Gui were somewhat exhausted. Hua Gu felt a little relieved. Fortunately, he had such a powerful bodyguard. Then he cursed at the two women who were crying in fear. "Shut the fuck up, both of you. Be quiet, or I'll throw you down too." Hearing Hua Ji's words, the two women were so frightened that they clung to each other and sobbed softly. Lin Ye watched the brown bear below the tree continuously battering the trunk, trying to climb several times only to be kicked down by Ague. He secretly marveled and gained some understanding of Ague's combat power. He alone was no match for this guy, not by several of himself. Forget it, better to get out of here quickly. Once it gets dark, he probably won't even be able to find the way. To avoid disturbing the bear, Lin Ye slowly climbed along the trunk. He kept looking back every few steps, observing from afar whether the brown bear had noticed him. Animals' sense of smell is sharper than humans. So if the brown bear did notice him, Lin Ye would still have time to react. Just as Lin Ye was about to look back one last time, several pairs of green eyes appeared across the clearing. The brown bear also stopped climbing and roaring, looking toward the opposite woods, its body slowly backing away. Ah, woo. It couldn't be this unlucky, could it? They ran into a wolf pack again. At this moment, Lin Ye could neither leave nor stay. Hearing that howl, the wolves attracted more companions, and the brown bear turned and ran straight into the woods behind it. This brown bear turned into a cowardly bear just like that, giving up so fast? Lin Ye looked in the direction the brown bear had run and instantly lost sight of it. Looking at the big tree not far to his right, Lin Ye thought to himself, I definitely can't outrun the wolves if I run now. Once it's dark, I'll run even slower. I can only hide in a tree and wait for the wolves to leave. Lin Ye quietly climbed onto the trunk, about 4 meters above the ground, lying on it while observing the situation with the wolf pack. By now, the entire wolf pack had come out, surrounding the pool and drinking water. Lin Ye counted them. There were 12 in total. One of them, a larger silver wolf, stood in the middle of the pack. It didn't rush to drink water. Instead, it looked up and stared at the tree where Brother Hua and the others were. It seemed this pond was also a place animals often came to drink, and Brother Hua and the others were very smart to climb into the tree before night fell. Lin Ye looked at the wolf pack and muttered to himself. Even after the wolves finished drinking and left one after another, Lin Ye still did not dare act rashly. After a while, the sky grew a little darker, and 2 deer arrived, along with a wild boar, all drinking by the pond. Only then did Lin Ye feel relieved enough to climb down from the tree. With deer nearby, it meant there was probably no danger around anymore, and the wolf pack had likely already gone far away. Lin Ye thought to himself that he still needed to find a better place to get water. Not only were Brother Hua and the others here, but wolf packs also occasionally appeared. If Brother Hua and the others were not here, perhaps he could set a trap and catch a wild boar. Lin Ye swallowed as he looked at the spot where the wild boar was drinking. Picking up the water from the ground, he walked step by step toward the rock cave. Lin Ye, is that you? Just as he returned to the rock cave, the sound of his footsteps caught the attention of the 2 people above, and Huang Ziyu asked softly, It's me, don't be scared. Lin Ye waved upward. You don't need to come down. Seeing that they had covered the campfire with plant ash, he guessed Huang Ziyu had copied what Lin Ye did earlier, in order to preserve the fire. He just did not know whether it could last until dawn. The suitcase was placed below the rock, which made sense. At such a high place, it was hard enough for them to climb up themselves, so there was no way to count on them to carry it up. Lin Ye hung the water around his neck, carried the suitcase in his left hand, and climbed up the vine ladder step by step. When he saw the 2 little silly eaglets snuggled together, they mistook the sound of Lin Ye climbing up for the big eagle returning with food and opened their mouths at him. I found water, but I didn't find any food. Did you see the big eagle come back? Lin Ye sat down cross-legged after coming up and asked. We climbed up when it was almost dark, but we didn't see the big eagle. Luna even wanted to feed mushrooms to those 2 little guys, but they don't seem to eat them, Huang Ziyu replied. Eagles are carnivores. Of course they wouldn't eat mushrooms. But it's strange. Birds should return to their nests at night, right? Lin Ye was a little puzzled. Lin Ye did not think too much about it. Even if the big eagle returned, it would not affect them. He was only afraid that once the big eagle knew humans were here, it would not dare return to the nest, and the 2 little ones would starve to death. Looks like tonight we'll have to squeeze together to sleep, Lin Ye casually said as he looked at the small space. Then you'd better not try anything tonight. Huang Ziyu shifted herself aside and made some room for Lin Ye. It's fine, brother Lin Ye. Even if you do try something, I wouldn't know anyway. Once I'm asleep at night, nothing can wake me up, Luna said with a half smile. Since you sleep so soundly, then you can sleep in the middle next to Lin Ye. As Huang Ziyu spoke, she pushed Luna toward Lin Ye. Sure, I don't mind anyway. Luna teased Lin Ye with a snicker. In this cramped space, Lin Ye felt a little embarrassed by the girl's suggestive words. He coughed and said, "Ahem, what are you even talking about? Don't worry, I sleep very properly at night. I don't even snore. Move over a bit first. I'll take the clothes out of the suitcase and lay them underneath us, otherwise you'll catch a chill." As Lin Ye spoke, he opened the suitcase and took out all the clothes. After spreading them out flat, the three lay down on top. Lin Ye was next to the wall, Luna was in the middle, and they were almost pressed together, mainly because the space was just too small. Smelling the fragrance coming from the woman beside him, Lin Ye's thoughts also began to wander. Growing up, he had never been this close to a woman before. Lin Ye kept his eyes open, looking at the rocks above, while Luna's sleeping breaths were already sounding in his ears. This girl really had a big heart. Lin Ye shook his head and turned over. "Lin Ye, are you asleep yet?" Huang Ziyu asked softly. What's wrong?" Lin Ye turned his head back and replied, "Can that water be drunk directly? I'm a little thirsty." Hearing the hoarseness in Huang Ziyu's voice. And indeed, they had only drunk that little bit of coconut juice all day and hadn't eaten much either. Lin Ye was feeling a little thirsty too. "It's best not to drink that water directly. I was planning to look for something to filter it tomorrow, and ideally boil it in a container before drinking it," Lin Ye said. Lin Ye had originally planned to make a simple clay pot with mud tomorrow, or find some fine sand to filter it before drinking, to prevent parasites and sediment in the water. If you want to drink it now, it's not impossible, just a bit troublesome. Lin Ye thought for a moment and said to Huang Ziyu. After Lin Ye finished speaking, he heard the sound of Huang Ziyu swallowing dryly from beside him, probably because her thirst was getting uncomfortable. "If you're really thirsty, it's actually not that troublesome. Wait here. If it's really too much trouble, then let's do it tomorrow. I can hold on. It's fine, just wait." Lin Ye took out a t-shirt from the suitcase and climbed down along the vine in the dark. With the faint moonlight, it wasn't completely pitch black below, but Lin Ye still lit the campfire. Lin Ye took out the small blade from the razor, cut the t-shirt into 4 pieces, and carefully picked out some charcoal from the fire, wrapping the charcoal with the first piece of cloth. Then the second layer, the third layer. He emptied a mineral water bottle and poured water from another bottle into it, filtering it through the charcoal. Lin Ye had never tried filtering with such a crude method before and didn't know how effective it really was. It looked clear enough, but raw water was still raw water. After filtering only half, he stopped what he was doing. "Here, this can be drunk now, but don't drink too much. Boiled water is cleaner after all." Lin Ye climbed back up into the cave and handed over the half bottle of water in his hand. "Thank you." Huang Ziyu took the water and drank it in small sips. When she finished, Lin Ye took the remaining water and drank it all in one gulp. Huang Ziyu pursed her slightly moistened lips and said nothing, watching as Lin Ye had just drunk from the same bottle as her again. Her face was so red it looked like blood could drip from it. This was practically an indirect kiss. Fortunately, the cave was too dark for Lin Ye to see the expression on her face. His stomach let out a growl. Tossing the bottle aside, Lin Ye lay down and turned onto his side to sleep. The next day, in his grogginess, Lin Ye felt something lying on top of him, and it was rather heavy. Lin Ye slowly opened his eyes and saw that it was Luna. This girl really was restless in her sleep, sprawled out with one leg draped over his stomach. It was already broad daylight, and Huang Ziyu was nowhere to be seen. Who knew when she had left? His left arm was also being hugged by her, making it impossible to move. Lin Ye tried to pull his arm out with force, but she was holding on too tightly. After trying twice, he finally gave up helplessly. There were only the two of them in the cave, and Lin Ye's heart was pounding fast, but Luna seemed to be treating him like a body pillow. Just when Lin Ye didn't know what to do, Huang Ziyu's voice came from below. "Luna, Lin Ye, come down quickly. It looks like the giant eagle is back." No, let me sleep a little longer," Luna said groggily, her body moving a little unconsciously. Seeing Luna's movement, Lin Ye helplessly shook his head, thinking to himself that Western women really are open-minded. Only a few days after they got acquainted, not only were they sleeping in the same cave, even their sleeping posture was so intimate. Luna's face was fair and very smooth, and it was hard to tell whether that was due to good care or something natural to white people. Beneath her long eyelashes, her eyes seemed to be moving very slightly. Seeing this, Lin Ye had no choice but to gently push Luna's shoulder with his other hand, while softly calling out, "Luna, wake up, the big eagle is back." Luna finally slowly opened her eyes, looked at Lin Ye in a drowsy daze, then suddenly realized her posture was somewhat inappropriate. In an instant, her face flushed red as she hurriedly let go of the arm she was hugging around Lin Ye and sat up. Sorry, I didn't mean to." Luna's voice was a little stuttery, her gaze flickering as she didn't dare look at Lin Ye. Lin Ye thought to himself that she could actually be shy, but he still smiled as if nothing had happened and said, "It's fine. Let's hurry out and take a look." With that, he stood up and walked toward the cave entrance. Luna also quickly straightened her clothes and followed after him. By now, the sky outside was already completely bright, and sunlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves and spilled down. Lin Ye and Luna walked out of the cave and saw the big eagle not far away. Two big eagles were circling overhead, and one of them was even clutching a giant rat in its talons. Probably it hadn't returned to its nest all night in order to catch food. "We're here, so the big eagle probably won't dare fly down. It may be a bit afraid," Lin Ye said, looking at the eagle. "Then can we still stay up ahead tonight?" Huang Ziyu asked. "Shouldn't be a problem. After they finish feeding, they'll go out to forage again. If it really doesn't work, we'll find another shelter." Lin Ye looked at the two little dumb eagles chirping above them. They were probably starving, and even hearing the big eagles call, they were responding from below. "We also need to go look for food next. And by the way, check the beach to see whether there's a rescue team," Lin Ye said, rubbing his empty stomach. "It's pretty far from the beach here. We do need to go out and see whether there's a rescue team." Huang Ziyu responded. Before setting off, Lin Ye filtered 2 more bottles of water and carried them with him. Huang Ziyu probably got up quite early. The fire below had already been lit again by her, but it was probably not needed at the moment. "Let's go. Let's head to the seaside first and not disturb their family happiness." As he said that, Lin Ye put out the fire and continued to cover the fire pit with ashes. Luna picked up a bottle of water and gulped it down, saying, "Suddenly, I feel water tastes this good too. Be glad." This water was secretly fetched from the pond at Brother Hua's place. "I even saw a wolf pack drinking there last night, so it's already good enough that we have something to drink," Lin Ye said. "Then let's look for some other freshwater sources. Going there to get water is too dangerous." Hearing that Lin Ye had run into a wolf pack again, Huang Ziyu said worriedly, Unless it's absolutely necessary. I won't take that risk. If we save these bottles of water, it'll be enough for us for 2 days," Lin Ye said as he walked. After leaving the woods and coming onto the beach, sure enough there was an SOS made of branches and broken stones on it. It should have been made by that guy called Ague. "Let's go around it. This is a signal set up by Brother Hua's people. That person might be watching from the shadows, so try to avoid them." As Lin Ye spoke, he walked toward the beach where they had first arrived. "Lin Ye, can you go talk to those people? Maybe we should gather together and figure out a way, unite to save ourselves. There's strength in numbers," Huang Ziyu said to Lin Ye. Hearing her words, Lin Ye paused, then said with some amusement, "You saw it that day too, how they treated those 2 women. I don't deny that there are good people, but with your looks, you'd definitely be like throwing a meat bun to a dog, gone for good. Cooperating with those people is no different from seeking the skin of a tiger." Huang Ziyu opened her mouth as if to say something more. Lin Ye cut her off and said, "Also, we agreed back then that you'd listen to me. If you're regretting it now, you can leave right now." "Sister Ziyu, I think Brother Lin Ye is right. Those few people don't look like good people at all. We should just stick together as a team of 3 and stop provoking them." Hearing the stern tone in Lin Ye's voice, Luna hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Huang Ziyu pouted and said nothing, silently walking forward. This girl is pretty proud." Lin Ye shook his head and followed after her. She still hasn't adjusted to her new role. After some time, she'll understand how treacherous people's hearts can be. These beauties who are usually aloof and live in the city. "Brother Lin Ye, look, there seems to be a boat over there." As Lin Ye was walking, Luna's shout rang in his ears. Lin Ye looked over. If you didn't look carefully, you really wouldn't know it was a boat. The entire hull had capsized onto its side, and only a small patch of the pitch-black bottom was exposed above the sea surface. At night, you'd definitely think it was a reef. "Come on, let's go take a look," Lin Ye said as he quickly ran over. "Hey, wait for us." Luna followed close behind. When they reached the shore, the boat was more than 20 meters from the beach. Its size was hard to make out, since too little of the hull was exposed to judge properly. "Wait for me on the shore. I'll go down and take a look. There must be supplies on the boat that we need." As he spoke, Lin Ye took off his shirt. Then he plunged headfirst into the sea. "Lin Ye, be careful." Huang Ziyu's shout came from behind him. There was no time to answer. The waves were a bit strong, and if he wasn't careful, seawater would pour into his mouth. It took about 15 minutes of swimming before he finally reached the boat. Lin Ye braced himself against the hull and gasped for breath. The waves were just too strong. Swimming was really exhausting. This skinny body really needs some training. After resting for a moment, Lin Ye took a deep breath and dove into the sea. The seawater was fairly clear, and he could see the entire hull. The boat was somewhat dilapidated and was only a little over 5 meters above the seabed. After seeing the situation on the seafloor clearly, Lin Ye quickly swam back out to the surface to breathe again. I can't see the full shape of this boat, but it should be a fishing boat. I don't know how it got here, and it's probably been here quite a while, otherwise it wouldn't have corroded this badly, Lin Ye said, patting the bottom of the boat with his hand. Taking a deep breath, he dived down again. There were many small fish around the hull, and they didn't seem afraid of him at all. What's that? It looks like an iron cage. Underwater, Lin Ye saw a pitch-black object on the seabed. It looked like the kind of iron cage fishing boats used to catch king crabs, and he quickly swam over. This cage isn't small. Lin Ye was somewhat delighted. He grabbed one and lifted it up from the sand on the seabed, but then he saw that a chain on the other end of the iron cage was tied to the hull. Lin Ye gave it a hard yank, and actually tore the end attached to the hull loose. But at the same time, he stirred up the seabed and made the water cloudy, so he could only swim upward. The iron cage probably weighed around 30 or 40 gin, so it was fairly easy to swim within the sea, but getting it ashore would be a bit troublesome. The water's all murky now. I'll wait for it to clear up before going down again. After surfacing, Lin Ye thought to himself silently. He tied the iron cage to the boat. As long as the waves weren't too strong, it wouldn't be knocked off by the seawater. Looking toward the two girls in the distance, they were gazing this way, and the distance wasn't far. The sound of the waves was quite loud, so Lin Ye only waved at them to signal that he was fine. After a few minutes, the sea became clear again, and Lin Ye dove back into the water, searching around the boat. My diving limit is just over 1 minute. I need to see clearly what's down there before going in, Lin Ye muttered to himself. After diving several times, Lin Ye's eyes felt a bit sore, and his stamina was also starting to give out, but he hadn't found anything useful. Lin Ye plunged his head into the sea, examining the hull. This kind of boat only had a wheelhouse, and there was no way to get into the cabin, and he had no idea where the kitchen was. Taking a deep breath, he dove down again. This time, Lin Ye was luckier and found a piece of iron, then pried off a section of steel rebar from the railing on the deck. The railing on the boat had been soaked in seawater for a long time, so the rebar came off easily, which made Lin Ye overjoyed. These few items could at least be put to some use. Lin Ye could no longer hold on and swam up to the surface, tying the iron sheet and the rebar together with the chain and the iron cage before swimming toward the shore. When he was almost there, Huang Ziyu also walked into the sea to help, and together with Lin Ye carried the iron cage toward the shore. Lin Ye, are you okay? Huang Ziyu asked when she saw Lin Ye's reddened eyes. At this moment, Lin Ye's eyes really didn't look good, looking like he had conjunctivitis with bloodshot eyeballs. I'm fine. It's just that I kept my eyes open in the sea for too long. Without professional diving equipment, it's not easy to search. Lin Ye waved his hand and said, Brother Lin Ye, what's the use of this cage? You can't eat it. Luna said when she saw the two of them carrying the iron cage. It's useful in many ways. On this island, any piece of iron is a scarce resource, Lin Ye said with a mysterious smile. Gurgle gurgle. After making repeated salvage dives in the sea, Lin Ye's stomach finally let out an untimely growl. They really hadn't eaten much these past 2 days. Looks like today we'll probably have to pick up crabs to eat again, Lin Ye said, rubbing his stomach. We'll go collect them on the beach. You rest for a while. Huang Ziyu pulled Luna along and headed to the nearby beach to start searching. Seeing how proactive the two of them were, Lin Ye didn't stay idle either. He picked up the iron sheet, grabbed 2 stones from nearby, and started hammering. Lin Ye wanted to use the iron sheet to hammer out a simple pot. As long as it could boil things, that would do. Fortunately, it was stainless steel, otherwise it would also need polishing. Before long, the rough shape of a pot began to appear. Just as Lin Ye was immersed in his pot hammering work, a woman's voice came from behind him. Hello, are you also survivors from the cruise ship? Where did you find this iron cage? Lin Ye turned around and saw a man and a woman behind him. The woman had a tall figure and was mixed race, about 30 years old. 2 days of island sun had left her face slightly tanned. Although the clothes on her body were tattered, the necklace around her neck showed that she was a wealthy woman, and she was also very beautiful. A pair of large peach blossom eyes were fixed on Lin Ye as she questioned him. The other man was a foreigner, tall and powerfully built. At this moment, he held a wooden stick in one hand, one end of it sharpened to a point, and stood behind the woman, watching Lin Ye with a wary expression. Lin Ye did not put down the stone in his right hand. With his left hand, he reached for the rebar, held it in his hand, and pointed at the distant boat as he said, Yes, We also survived the cruise ship. There's a boat over there. The woman looked in the direction Lin Ye was pointing, and sure enough, there was a boat. Only the entire hull was in the sea, with just the bottom exposed, but this also proved that Lin Ye had not lied to them. Huang Ziyu and Luna also hurried over when they saw what was happening here. Watching the movement of the thing in Lin Ye's hand, the mixed-race woman said, "Don't get us wrong. We mean no harm. We just heard knocking sounds coming from here earlier and thought rescue teams had arrived, so we came to take a look." When Lin Ye heard this, he realized he had been careless. He had thought the waves would cover up the sound of him knocking. Luckily, we were pretty far from Brother Hua and the others, but it still attracted other survivors. "My name is Wang Qin. My father is Chinese and my mother is German. This is Hader, my friend," Wang Qin introduced. "My name is Lin Ye," Lin Ye said simply, but he still did not relax his guard because he had seen a hint of malice in Hader's eyes, which were fixed on Huang Ziyu and Luna. Lin Ye gave Hader a cold look and said to Wang Qin, "Is that so? Your friend doesn't seem very friendly." Wang Qin looked at Hader, thinking that the wooden stick in Hader's hand was pointed at Lin Ye and had caused Lin Ye's hostility. She hurriedly explained, "Oh, don't get the wrong idea. We came through the woods, and the stick is for preventing other unexpected situations." "Hader, put it down already." Hearing Wang Qin's words, Hader quickly stuck the stick into the sand and walked toward Huang Ziyu and the others, extending his hand and saying, "Hello. Beautiful ladies, my name is Hader. I'm so happy to see you on this deserted island." Lin Ye frowned. Hader clearly did not take Lin Ye seriously and simply ignored him. "Hello, my name is Luna. Nice to meet you." Luna also extended her hand in a friendly gesture. Maybe that was just her personality, easygoing and straightforward, unaware of how dangerous people can be. Huang Ziyu did not answer him or extend her hand. She felt very uncomfortable with the way Hader kept looking at her, so she silently walked behind Lin Ye. Seeing that Huang Ziyu did not give him any face, Hader curled his lips, glanced at the crabs in Huang Ziyu's hands, and then smiled and said, "Beauty, we have food over there. If you don't mind, you can come back to our camp with me." "Wow, you have food over there? Can we really go back with you?" Luna said hurriedly when she heard there was food. Hader was about to answer when Huang Ziyu said, "Sorry, I only listened to our captain." She pointed at Lin Ye. This girl was really giving Lin Ye plenty of face in front of outsiders. Hearing Huang Ziyu's words, Luna also stuck out her tongue and silently came over to Huang Ziyu's side. Luna felt she had been a little too impulsive just now, but she was proving it with her actions. That Lin Ye was their boss. Seeing that both women had gone to stand beside Lin Ye, Hader had no choice but to take Lin Ye seriously. Hader was right. We do still have some food, but not much. We also have a camp over in the woods, not far from here. There are about 15 of us in total. If you don't mind, you could come back with us and form a group. After all, there's strength in numbers, and we can figure something out together," Wang Qin said, looking at Lin Ye. Lin Ye always felt that this woman, Wang Qin, was not simple. And besides, they don't have much food there either. More people do mean more strength, but daily consumption also increases. When benefits are distributed unevenly, serious disagreements will arise. Luna and Huang Ziyu both looked at Lin Ye. Huang Ziyu remained calm, while Luna also had some expectation. "No need. The three of us are used to being together, and we don't want to crowd in with so many people," Lin Ye said without thanking her for the kindness. "Kid, asking you to come back to the camp with us is us giving you face. Don't be ungrateful and let these two beauties starve following you." Hader pointed at Luna and Huang Ziyu and said, "This is my freedom. It's none of your business," Lin Ye said disdainfully. The air was thick with gunpowder, and Lin Ye tightened his grip on the rebar in his hand. Seeing the two of them at daggers drawn, Wang Qin hurriedly stepped in to smooth things over and said, "Mr. Lin, sorry, my friend speaks rather directly, but I think what he said makes sense. You should let them make their own choice, whether to return to the camp with us or keep following you." Hearing Wang Qin's words, Lin Ye looked at the two and said, "If you hope to follow them back to the camp, I won't stop you. This is everyone's freedom." "No, I don't want to go back to the camp with them." Huang Zi looked at Lin Ye and said firmly, I'll stay with Sister Ziyu." Luna also said. Lin Ye was a little surprised by the two girls' answers, knowing they still hoped to stay with him. Hearing this answer, Hader was somewhat astonished, thinking to himself what right this kid had to be accompanied by two beauties. "Beauties, I hope you'll think it over carefully. After all, your chances of survival will be greater if you stay with us," Hader urged. Seeing that the three of them were unmoved, Hader wanted to continue speaking. "Since that's the case, we won't disturb you any further. Hader, we should head back." Wang Qin quickly cut Hater off, waved to him, and said, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out," Lin Ye said sharply. After taking a few steps, Wang Qin turned back and said, "If you have time, you can come visit our camp. Head east into the woods, about 2 or 3 li. Okay, I'll definitely go when I have time," Lin Ye replied. Seeing Hater's muscular build, Lin Ye didn't want to make an enemy of him completely. After all, he might not be able to beat him. If the other side used force, Lin Ye would probably have to fight with all he had. Wang Qin also said nothing more and walked ahead without looking back. Hater only glared fiercely at Lin Ye a couple of times, then carried the wooden stick and followed Wang Qin. Lin Ye pretended not to see it. Now there were Wang Qin and the others to the east, and Brother Hua and the others to the west, leaving Lin Ye stuck in the middle, which made him very uncomfortable. Luckily, the cave was relatively hidden. After they left, Lin Ye's pot was also finished. Looking at his creation, it was a bit rough, but usable. Let's go back to the cave first. Lin Ye looked at the crabs the two had caught. It should be enough for a meal. He put all the crabs into the pot, picked some leaves to cover the mouth of the pot, and tied them down with vines. It was a full pot. On the way, he also picked up a few empty bottles from the sea and filled them with some seawater. Huang Ziyu and the other person carried the iron cage and followed behind Lin Ye. "You two go back first in a bit. I'm going to take a look deeper in the jungle." After saying that, Lin Ye handed the pot to Huang Ziyu and took the iron cage from their hands at the same time. "Brother Lin Ye, I'm a little scared. Can we go with you?" Luna said softly. "It's not far from the cave, and it's still relatively safe on the road during the day. If you run into danger, just shout loudly. If I haven't gone too far, I'll come right over." Lin Ye looked toward the cave and said. Luna pouted a little unhappily. Then, "Lin Ye, be careful yourself. We can go back on our own." Huang Ziyu brushed her hair back and said, "Dealing with mature women just isn't that tiring. There's no need to explain so much nonsense, especially when she's a beautiful woman. Don't worry. If I run into danger, I'll retreat in time," Lin Ye said as he slung the iron cage onto his back and walked off in another direction with the rebar in his right hand. The jungle was too dense, but one had to admit the rebar was indeed useful. He hacked and smashed his way through all along, forcibly cutting out a path. If only he had a knife, it would at least be less tiring. After walking about 800 meters, Lin Ye lay under a big tree, panting heavily. He had made too much noise along the way, so any small animals and venomous snakes had probably been scared off. As soon as the movement of his hands stopped, the surroundings instantly fell silent. Occasionally, he could hear cicadas chirping in the distance, little birds darting overhead, and sunlight still filtering through the leaves. Without this bit of bright sunlight, the jungle probably wouldn't have so many thorns and weeds. The trees here are really huge, probably needing 3 people to wrap their arms around one. If this were in our village, it would probably be worth quite a lot of money, right? What sound is that? Just as Lin Ye was marveling, a rustling sound came from the distance. It was very faint. If he didn't stop and listen carefully, it would be hard to hear. Whatever, let's go take a look first. Lin Ye hoisted the iron cage onto his back and headed toward the source of the sound, stopping from time to time to listen and figure out the direction. It's getting closer. This should be the sound of flowing water. Great. Excited, Lin Ye quickened his pace and hacked through the grass ahead. What came into view was a small canyon, and below the canyon was a little stream. The stream extended upstream deep into the canyon, where a high peak blocked the view, making it impossible to see the end at a glance. Downstream, there was no telling where it flowed, and it felt as if it ran across the entire island. Lin Ye slowly jumped down into the canyon, startling a small animal that had been drinking by the stream and sending it scurrying into the woods. It was a civet. That's really rare these days. He actually ran into one here. Lin Ye had seen them when he was little. Back then, many of the older people in the village set animal traps and caught quite a few wild animals. Many wild animals were nearly driven to extinction. Later, when the state cracked down hard, people finally began to rein themselves in and protect wildlife. Lin Ye scooped up a handful of water and brought it to his mouth. Wow, this water is sweet, much sweeter than that farmer, whatever it is. If someone started a mineral water factory here, they'd really be a porter of nature. He drank a few more mouthfuls and washed his face in the river. There are so many fish. No, I need to think of a way to catch a few. Lin Ye looked at the stones by the bank and instantly got an idea. This stream was only 2 or 3 meters wide. The water so clear you could see the bottom, and even the deepest spot only reached chest height. It probably wasn't the rainy season yet. The watermarks on both sides of the canyon confirmed how high the water could rise when the rainy season arrived. Lin Ye piled stones into the middle of the stream, and at the very center, he set the iron cage in place, with the opening of the iron cage facing upstream. That made a simple fish trap. He smashed stones into the water upstream to drive the school of fish downward. After repeating this several times, Lin Ye came over to check the iron cage, and he really had caught more than 10 fish, the biggest weighing about 5 Gene. I can finally eat some meat. If I take this back, those 2 girls will probably be over the moon. Maybe one of them will even warm my bed tonight. Ha! Lin Ye laughed. He picked up a fairly sharp stone flake by the river and gutted the fish right there on the spot, then threaded all the fish together on a branch. It's just a pity he didn't bring a container, otherwise he could have taken some fresh water back too. He would leave the iron cage here. This was a treasure. Barring any accidents, there would be a steady supply of fish getting caught. Lin Ye was very satisfied with the fish trap he had set up. He broke off a fairly thick branch from the woods, drove it into the ground with a stone, then tied it with the iron chain that came with the cage and gave it a hard tug. That'll do for today. I'll come back and check again tomorrow. Lin Ye clapped his hands, picked up the fish on the ground, and headed back. Sister Ziyu, can we boil the crabs and eat them? I'm really hungry, Luna said as she crouched on the ground and looked at the crabs in the pot. The fire beside her had already been lit again, and the pot was set next to it, weighed down with a stone. Let's wait a bit longer for Lin Ye. Maybe he'll be back soon. As Huang Ziyu spoke, she added more firewood to the campfire. Sister Ziyu, how about when Brother Lin Ye comes back later? We try to persuade him to go with us to Wang Qin's camp? There are more people there, so we wouldn't have to be so afraid even if we ran into a wolf pack. Luna stood up, sat down beside Huang Ziyu, and said. Hearing Luna's words, Huang Ziyu was a little surprised. It wasn't that she didn't want to stay with the larger group, but her intuition told her that camp was not a place they could go, just as she didn't know how to answer. Girls, I'm back. Look what good stuff I brought you, ha. Before Lin Ye arrived, his voice came from the distance. Hearing Lin Ye's voice, Huang Ziyu and Luna both stood up at the same time and went to meet him. These are fish, so many fish. Brother Lin Ye, you're amazing. We can finally eat meat. Luna said excitedly as she shook Lin Ye's arm. This is nothing. Just follow me, and I'll make sure you eat well and drink well on this island from now on, hee. It had to be said, Luna's praise made Lin Ye quite happy. No wonder emperors in the past all liked flattery. These seem to be freshwater fish. Did you find fresh water? And where's your iron cage? Huang Ziyu pointed at the fish and asked. Lin Ye looked at her, originally thinking she would praise him too, but this woman didn't think the way other women did. She really could notice subtle details that others wouldn't. Luna was just thinking that she could finally eat fish, yet she was able to notice that this kind of fish was freshwater fish. Smart. I did find a stream over there, and there are lots of fish in it. I used the iron cage to set up a fish trap. If nothing goes wrong, we might be able to eat fish every day, Lin Ye said with a proud smile. Hearing Lin Ye's words, a trace of vitality returned to Huang Ziyu's eyes, and she no longer looked so dejected. Perhaps she, too, had been worrying about food. That's really great. By the way, we haven't cooked the crabs yet. We were waiting for you to come back. A faint smile flashed across Huang Ziyu's lips as she spoke. Leave this to me. Today I'll let you experience a different kind of flavor. As Lin Ye spoke, he rolled up his sleeves and walked toward the pot of crabs. Brother Lin Ye, can fish and crabs really be cooked into something delicious? Do you need my help? Luna said as she followed behind Lin Ye. No wonder this girl was being so diligent. She was probably starving and wanted to be a little closer to the food when she heard there would be something tasty. Go up there. I remember there's still a gift bag in the suitcase. Go get it first and use it to pack these crabs. Lin Ye said to Luna. Okay, I'll go right away. After Luna put the crabs into the bag, Lin Ye picked up several large stones and placed them beside the fire so the pot could sit on top to be heated, then poured several bottles of seawater they had filled at the beach into the pot and started boiling it. This, are you making sea salt? Huang Ziyu asked when she saw what Lin Ye was doing. Smart. Although it's not very clean, it's barely good enough to use as seasoning. So am I awesome or what? Lin Ye replied. No one even praised you yet, and you're already narcissistic. I've noticed that sometimes when you talk, you seem pretty unreliable, but you actually know quite a lot. Huang Ziyu said irritably. Hey, you smiled. Haha, that's more like it. Smile more when there's nothing to do. Even though we're in this kind of situation, we still have to stay optimistic, Lin Ye said with a smile. Over the past few days, she really had been living in a very oppressive state, being chased by wolves, driven off by sharks, going 3 days without a full meal, and having to sleep in a cold cave. You're right. We really do need to face it with optimism, Huang Zi murmured, staring at the campfire in a daze. The seawater in the pot was quickly boiled dry by the blazing fire, and there was a layer of white crystals at the bottom of the pot. Lin Ye quickly gathered them up and put them into an empty water bottle. Next, he poured half a pot of water into the pot, set a few sticks across the middle of the pot, and placed the crabs on top to steam them. It took several batches to steam them all. Finally, he poured all the remaining fresh water into the pot, put 3 fish in, then added the leftover mushrooms from yesterday and some salt. Brother Lin Ye, what kind of dish is this? Mushrooms and fish soup? Luna asked. Goodness, what kind of question is that? Lin Ye himself didn't know what kind of dish it was. Having something to eat was good enough, as long as nothing was wasted. What do you know? There are so many varieties of Chinese cuisine that you couldn't finish trying them all in this lifetime. It's delicious. Lin Ye rolled his eyes and said, Oh, then if Brother Lin Ye says it's tasty, it must be tasty, Luna said, swallowing hard. Lin Ye, it seems like we don't have bowls or chopsticks. Huang Ziyu shrugged at Lin Ye and said, Only when Huang Ziyu brought up this issue did Lin Ye realize that the 3 of them had only one pot and nothing else. Lin Ye walked into the woods and found a few relatively clean branches, making 3 pairs of simple chopsticks. He handed 1 pair to each person and said, We'll have to make do like this for today. Let's just eat straight from the pot, and I'll think of a solution tomorrow. Huang Ziyu frowned but said nothing. It wasn't that she disliked it, it was just probably the first time in her life she had ever eaten like this. Luna, however, held the chopsticks with a confused look and said, How do you use this? I've always used a knife and fork when eating. Only then did Lin Ye slap his forehead and say, I guess in the days ahead you'll have to learn how to use chopsticks, otherwise you'll have to eat with your hands. He had forgotten that this girl was a foreigner, but under the current conditions, where was he supposed to get her a knife and fork? Even the chopsticks were just little wooden sticks snapped off on the spot. Luna looked troubled, holding the chopsticks and not knowing what to do. All right, it's done. Let's eat. As he spoke, Lin Ye took the pot down. He picked up a piece of fish with his chopsticks and started eating it with crab. Meanwhile, Huang Ziyu had turned into a caring big sister, teaching little Luna how to use chopsticks. Lin Ye ate in big mouthfuls, not caring at all about appearances. Huang Ziyu, on the other hand, ate with a bit more grace, while Luna looked rather comical, using both her hands and chopsticks, occasionally even dropping food on the ground. Finally, the battle ended an hour later. Seeing that Luna still wanted more, it was true that food tasted much better with salt. By the way, Luna, when you went up to get the bag just now, were those 2 little baby boobies still up there? Lin Ye looked at Luna and asked. They were still there. They looked so pitiful, huddled together. When I first went up, they even opened their mouths at me, Luna replied. Lin Ye looked at the 7 or 8 fish still hanging in the tree and picked out the smallest one from the middle, cutting it into small pieces with a razor blade. I'll go up and feed them. Now that they have an appetite, it wouldn't be bad to keep them as little pets. Lin climbed up with the fish meat. Their parents go out for a whole day and don't come back. Probably they haven't found any food. Maybe they might not even find food in 2 days. Carrying the fish meat, he came over to the little ones. The little ones were a bit scared at first, but when Lin Ye held the fish meat to their mouths, they kept eagerly leaning in. Lin Ye had experience raising birds when he was young, and before long, they had finished all the fish meat in Lin Ye's hand. Looking at the little ones, their feathers hadn't fully grown yet. To grow up and be able to fly, judging by the situation, it would probably still take more than a month. When Lin Ye climbed down, he saw Huang Ziyu cleaning up the scraps and leftover vegetables in the pot. Heh, what a virtuous woman. Lin Ye, can you take me to the stream later? Huang Ziyu put down the pot in her hand and said, What are you going there for? Lin Ye asked in confusion. I haven't bathed for several days. I want to go wash up by the river. Huang Ziyu said with a blush. Brother Lin Ye, I'm going too. I haven't bathed for several days either, and my whole body smells. You wouldn't want me sleeping next to you all smelly either, right? As soon as Luna heard that Huang Ziyu was going to the river to bathe, she hurriedly said. Lin Ye thought for a moment and said, All right then, wait for me a moment. Lin Ye took down the fish hanging on the tree, evenly rubbed sea salt over the fish, and climbed back up the vine ladder, hanging the fish up high where the sun could reach it. The daytime heat, and all this would keep the fish meat good for longer. Otherwise, it would spoil before they could eat it tomorrow. And hanging it on the rock wall could also prevent other animals from stealing it. After doing all this, Lin Ye was still a little uneasy, so he also buried the fish bones Huang Ziyu had just dumped on the ground with soil. Let's go. I'll take you there, Lin Ye said, clapping his hands. Huang Ziyu seemed to understand something after watching Lin Ye finish all this. Wait for me a second. As she spoke, Luna climbed toward the rock cave. When she came down again, She was holding several pieces of clothing and pants. She handed one set to Huang Ziyu and said, "This is for you, Sister Ziyu." "Thank you," Huang Ziyu said as she took it. This girl had become unusually proactive at this moment, carrying all the empty bottles and leading the two of them all the way to the riverside. "Lin Ye, we're going to wash over there. You don't need to come over, and you're not allowed to peek," Huang Ziyu said. "Anyway, Brother Lin Ye has already seen me before, so I don't mind this time. If Brother Lin Ye wants to watch, I don't have any objection," Luna said, blinking. "You silly girl. Then go take a lovebird bath with your brother Lin Ye." Huang Ziyu rolled her eyes and said. Lin Ye had originally thought he might splash around in the water with the girls, but it seemed Huang Ziyu was not very willing. In civilized society, if a group of people were bathing and swimming together in swimsuits, there probably wouldn't be anything wrong with it. Maybe on this island, with Lin Ye being the only man, she felt a bit embarrassed. You go wash. I'll go check on the iron cage." As he spoke, Lin Ye walked toward the iron cage. When he got to the iron cage, there were already 2 more small fish inside. Looking back, he saw Huang Ziyu and the others had gone behind a big rock. It seemed he wouldn't be getting an eyeful after all. Even if Lin Ye secretly followed and hid nearby to peek, they probably wouldn't notice. Never mind that for now. He might as well wash up too. After going into the sea to salvage things, and then being baked by the sun, his body was covered in a white layer of salt. Lin Ye looked at himself and also found a slightly deeper spot to squat down in. Only after washing did he realize he hadn't brought a clean pair of pants to change into. Looking in the direction of Huang Ziyu and the others, there was no movement. Women probably take a long time to bathe. Lin Ye took off his clothes and pants. He wrung them out hard, hung the long pants and shirt on a tree branch to dry first, and put his underwear back on. Even if it was wet, if someone saw him later, at least he'd have something to cover his shame. Who knew how long he had waited? But they still weren't done washing. Lin Ye asked a little anxiously. "Hey, how much longer are you going to take?" "Brother Lin Ye, wait a little longer, we'll be done soon," Luna replied. "I didn't hear anything from you for ages, and I thought you'd been taken by a monster. As long as you're fine. Anyway, we're not in a hurry," Lin Ye said as he lay on the rock. "I'm already done washing. Mainly Sister Ziyu is slower, Luna's voice was muffled by something. Hearing that something was off in her voice, Lin Ye thought something might have happened to them, and was just about to get up and go over to take a look. "Lin Ye, it's fine. Don't listen to this silly girl's nonsense. We'll be done soon." Huang Ziyu's voice came from behind the rock. "Oh, okay. After you finish washing, wait a bit before coming out. I took a bath too just now, and my clothes aren't dry yet." After saying that, Lin Ye lay back down on the big rock. At this moment behind the big rock, Huang Ziyu was covering Luna's mouth, her face flushed red. "I'm letting go of your mouth, but you're not allowed to talk nonsense again, got it?" Huang Ziyu said, staring at Luna. Luna blinked, indicating a nod, and Huang Ziyu let her go. "Sister Ziyu, I almost suffocated," Luna said, gasping for breath. "Well, who told you to talk nonsense?" "It'd be so embarrassing if Lin Ye heard it," Huang Ziyu said, rolling her eyes. "Sister Ziyu, your period came. I was thinking of telling Lin Ye so he could think of a solution. I didn't know you'd react so strongly." Luna looked a little innocent. "I don't want him to know about something this embarrassing. Besides, even if he knew, what could he do? There isn't any of that on this island," Huang Zi said, blushing. Luna thought about it, and seemed to feel she was right. There really wasn't any good solution. "Sister Ziyu, your figure is so nice, and you're so pretty too. You must have a lot of men pursuing you, right?" Luna stared at a certain part of Huang Ziyu and smiled. "Humph, you're not bad yourself. With your type, Lin Ye would probably like you a lot," Huang Ziyu said, pointing at Luna. "If Brother Lin Ye said he liked me, I'd definitely devote myself to him. How about we let Brother Lin Ye come over and feast his eyes?" Luna said mischievously. "I think you're like a female cat in heat. You two might as well take a bath together as a pair of lovebirds." As Huang Ziyu spoke, she got up and walked toward the shore. Seeing that she was no longer bleeding below, she tore off a clean piece of cloth and patted it underneath. "It should last through tonight, right?" Huang Ziyu thought to herself. Back to Lin Ye. His clothes were almost dry, so he put them on and checked the iron cage, finding 2 more small fish inside. This is a treasure-attracting cage. No worries about food or drink, no worries at all. We can't even finish it all, haha. Lin Ye laughed as he took all the fish out. Then he cleaned the fish and strung them together. Looking at the 2 great beauties walking toward him, they were holding the clothes they had changed out of. Although the ones in the box were men's clothes, when worn on them, they gave off a valiant and spirited feeling. It was just that their hair looked a bit dry and rough, and both had tied it up with strips of cloth. "You're done washing? Fill up the water bottles," and then we'll head back. Lin Ye pointed at the empty bottles on the ground. Huang Ziyu looked at the several extra fish in Lin Ye's hand, then at the iron cage trap set in the middle of the stream, and gave Lin Ye a deep look as she said, "This iron cage really is a good thing. Of course. Actually, even without the iron cage, I'd still have a way to catch them, hee." Lin Ye said with a smile. "Oh, stop bragging." Huang Ziyu ignored him, took the water bottles, and started filling them by the stream. Before long they were full, and she handed a few bottles to Luna to carry. "Let's go, ladies." Lin Ye carried the fish on a steel bar over his shoulder and walked forward leisurely, whistling. "Ah, help! Help! Run! It's about to catch up. Run!" A burst of chaotic noise came from Lin Ye's side. "Something's going on. Don't move yet. Let me take a look first." Lin Ye put his things down. He climbed up the nearest small tree and looked in the direction of the sound. About 50 meters away, he saw one man and two women running toward them, completely disregarding the thorns ahead scratching their arms and cheeks. Looking more closely behind the man, there was a big black wild boar, its tusks almost poking the man's butt. "This is bad, run. Head for the creek." After seeing the situation clearly, Lin Ye jumped down from the tree and said to the two women in alarm, "Ah, what's wrong, Lin Ye?" Huang Ziyu asked, seeing that Lin Ye didn't look too good. "There's a wild boar chasing 3 people in our direction," Lin Ye said as he pulled the two women along and ran. The way back was blocked by them, so they could only run toward the creek. But the woman running in front behind them had already seen Lin Ye and the others. "Help! Please save us!" the woman shouted. Hearing the sound behind him, Lin Ye remained completely unmoved. If he hadn't climbed the tree and seen that big tusked boar, he might have stopped. After all, people are curious by nature. If he could help, he definitely would, but only within his means. Hearing the cries for help behind them, Huang Ziyu did look back once, wanting to say something, but held it back. Soon, they reached the creek. "Quick, climb onto that big rock where you were bathing just now," Lin Ye said to the two women. "Ah, save me." Before he could finish speaking, a man's miserable scream came from behind. The boar had already clamped its jaws onto the man's leg and was gnawing wildly, and the two women behind him had also reached Lin Ye's side. The two women were panic-stricken, with tears and snot streaming down their faces. Hearing the man's screams behind them, they could no longer hold on, and one of them collapsed on the spot, her legs going weak from fear. Seeing the two of them disheveled and covered in bloodstains, Lin Ye softened a little and said, "You two climb onto that rock with them too. I'll cover the rear." Seeing that one of the women had gone weak in the legs and fallen to the ground, Huang Ziyu also ran over to help support her as they climbed onto the rock together. When he saw that all 4 women had climbed onto the rock, he turned back and saw the boar violently goring the man's body. Lin Ye tightened his grip on the rebar in his hand. He wanted to save him, but figured it would probably be useless even if he went, so he turned around and climbed onto the rock too. The man's screams had turned into incoherent babbling. From a distance, he no longer looked like a complete body, until he could no longer make a sound. "Lin Ye, it seems to be looking at us." Luna looked at the boar and tugged on Lin Ye's arm as she spoke. Lin Ye looked at the rock beneath his feet. The surface of this big rock was somewhat smooth, with a sloped height of about 2 meters, which people could climb up with some effort, but the boar's hooves couldn't. The two women, seeing the boar slowly walking over, screamed in fright. "Don't worry, it can't get up here," Lin Ye said reassuringly. Lin Ye himself was also a little scared, and gripping the rebar in his hand gave him some comfort. The boar came to the base of the big rock, and at such close range, it gave off a sense of oppression. Its tusks were white, its bristles were as numerous as steel needles, and fresh red blood still dripped from its mouth. Lin Ye stared straight into its deep eyes like that. The boar let out a low growl. Huang Ziyu and Luna were tugging at Lin Ye's clothes. He could feel that both of them were trembling. The other two women were huddled together, crying bitterly. "Quiet down. The more afraid you are, the more the boar will attack us," Lin Ye said sternly. Hearing Lin Ye's words, the two women behind him went from loud sobbing to quiet whimpering. "Lin Ye, do you think it would be safer if we jumped into the river?" Huang Ziyu said softly. Looking at the spot behind them where the two had bathed, the depth was probably only about chest high. "For now, don't act rashly. I don't know whether the boar would still attack us in the water. If it charges over no matter what, you all jump into the water." Lin Ye waved his hand and said, "Okay." Huang Ziyu knew she couldn't help much and only hoped not to become Lin Ye's burden. "Oh no." Lin Ye looked at one of the boar's front legs scraping at the ground, its nose snorting heavily. This was the posture of an attack. The boar slowly backed away. With a strange cry, the boar suddenly charged toward Lin Ye. Just as Lin Ye was about to tell the women behind him to jump into the water, the boar's front hooves stepped onto the smooth stone and it fell flat on its face. Squeal, the boar tumbled heavily downward. Seeing this, Lin Ye was no longer afraid. Haha, come on then, get up here if you can. Lin Ye taunted the boar. At the same time, Lin Ye also thought of a way to deal with the boar. The distance the boar charged in was just about 50 centimeters short of Lin Ye, enough to stab it with the steel bar in his hand. Lin Ye mimicked the boar's cry and continued cursing. You beast, come on up then, come bite me if you dare. Lin Ye, are you crazy? You're still provoking it. Hearing Lin Ye's taunting words, Huang Ziyu grabbed his arm and said, I'm doing it on purpose. I just want to enrage it. I figured out how to deal with it. Lin Ye said smugly. Brother Lin Ye, we'd better not enrage it. It's really vicious. Luna also said fearfully. Luna looked at the corpse of the dead man in the distance, then looked at the boar beneath the rock and swallowed. Yeah, we're safe now. Don't provoke it anymore. The two women behind also nodded. It's not that I'm provoking it. Look at the way it's acting. It doesn't want to let us leave at all. If we drag this out until dark and attract other carnivorous animals, we'll be in trouble, Lin Ye said to them, looking at the corpse in the distance. Lin Ye had killed a few fish and rinsed them clean with water. As long as there weren't any large carnivores nearby, it was still very safe. Carnivores have very keen noses. With such a strong smell of blood, it would be very troublesome when night falls. So Lin Ye didn't want to keep stalling with the boar. The big boar heard Lin Ye shouting and could no longer hold back. After taking a few steps back, it charged again. This time the boar's charge was extremely powerful. Its tusks almost pierced Lin Ye. In the blink of an eye, Lin Ye grabbed the steel bar and forcefully thrust it toward the boar's eye. He used a lot of strength, and blood sprayed all over Lin Ye. Squeal, a series of cries rang out. The boar, in pain, cried out strangely and slammed downward fiercely, but it did not leave. The pain had driven it out of its mind and further aroused its ferocity. It used its nose and tusks to wildly ram the big rock. This beast has one eye poked blind by me and still won't leave, Lin Ye said in surprise. The boar finally stopped rushing around and turned its head to look at Lin Ye and the others. Lin Ye thought it would retreat, but instead the boar launched another attack. Lin Ye aimed at the boar's other eye and thrust. Unexpectedly, something unexpected happened. This time he didn't hit the eye, only stabbing its head. The shock from the boar's skull made Lin Ye's hand hurt badly, and he almost lost his footing and fell off the rock. Only when Huang Ziyu, quick-eyed and quick-handed, grabbed him did he manage to steady himself. Damn, that's really hard. At the same time, Lin Ye's thrust also knocked the wild boar down. Seeing blood gushing out from the top of the boar's head, it seemed he had still caused it some damage. The wild boar shook its head and charged again. Damn it, again. Lin Ye braced himself, and when the boar rushed over once more, this time he used all his strength and stabbed into the boar's throat. Half of the entire steel rebar went in, and at the same time Lin Ye's hand was also cut by the boar's tusks. Yeah. Blood kept pouring out of the boar's throat as it collapsed to the ground. Struggling from time to time, still squealing loudly. Lin Ye, your hand. Seeing that Lin Ye's hand was also bleeding, Huang Ziyu quickly tore a strip of cloth from her clothes. Wait a moment, I'll bandage it for you. Lin Ye looked at his arm. There was a cut about 20 centimeters long. Fortunately, it wasn't very deep. Only after relaxing mentally did a wave of pain hit him. I won't catch some infectious disease, will I? If a dog bites you, you can get rabies, but this time it was a pig that bit me. Lin Ye shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Staying alive was what mattered most. Fortunately, the wild boar finally collapsed. Sitting on the rock, Lin Ye let out a long, heavy breath. Only then did Lin Ye turn around and take a careful look at the two women, who were still too terrified to recover their senses. How did you end up here? And how did you get chased by a wild boar? Lin Ye asked. Hearing his question, the two women began talking over each other. From what they said, they were also survivors from the cruise ship. There had originally been 8 of them together, but 3 were too badly injured and didn't make it. In the end, the remaining 5 went into the jungle to look for food and water, accidentally ran into a wild boar, and during their escape, the other 2 men got separated. In the end, the 3 of them, 1 man and 2 women, were chased by the boar all the way until they ran into Lin Ye and the others. Thank you, Appa. If it weren't for you, we sisters might have died too, one of the women said. From the way she spoke, she turned out to be a girl from H country, and the 2 of them were sisters. No need to thank me. Helping you is also helping myself, Lin Ye said. Seeing that the wild boar below had already stopped struggling, Lin Ye jumped down and touched it. It was no longer breathing. We can't stay in this place for long. We need to leave quickly. Lin Ye looked at the man's corpse as he spoke. He was afraid that other wild beasts might be drawn here at any moment. You two come down and give me a hand, Lin Ye said to Huang Zi and the other girl. Looking at the big wild boar lying on the ground, Lin Ye didn't want to let so much boar meat go to waste. This wild boar weighed at least 300 to 400 jin. Carrying all of it back was not very realistic. Lin Ye picked out a flat stone and sharpened one side until it was fairly sharp. With the help of the two of them, he laboriously cut off about 180 jin of meat. Watching Lin Ye's violent movements, the two girls felt somewhat nauseated. Seeing the way the two of them reacted, Lin Ye thought to himself, "You're disgusted now, but let's see what you two have to say when it's time to eat." After washing the meat clean, he gave each of them a portion to carry on their shoulders. At first they were somewhat resistant, but later, under Lin Ye's threats and inducements, they still gave in. It was simple. If you don't carry it now, then don't eat later. Can we come with you? Hearing the two women behind him, Lin Ye was taken aback and had almost forgotten about them. Should he take them or not? The cave couldn't fit them all to sleep anyway. After thinking for a while, Lin Ye said, "Even if you follow us, we can barely protect ourselves. And besides, our camp doesn't have enough room to sleep. We'll be obedient, and we usually eat very little. As long as we can hold on until rescue arrives, that'll be enough. We can work too." Upon hearing that Lin Ye didn't want to take them along, she said anxiously, "Lin Ye, how about taking them with us?" Huang Ziyu looked at the two of them and said somewhat unwillingly. Seeing Huang Ziyu's pleading eyes, Lin Ye's gaze grew even more sympathetic. "Brother Lin Ye, I can eat a little less too and share with them." Luna also persuaded him. Lin Ye was also very conflicted. He already had 2 freeloaders with him, and now 2 more had come. His mind was a mess, while the 2 women kept pleading non-stop, calling him Appa over and over. In the end, Lin Ye softened. "All right, I agree to take you with us. Go wash up by the river first. I'll get some more pork and you can take that too." Hearing Lin Ye's words, the 2 women burst into tears of joy, and one of them planted a kiss on Lin Ye's face. Before Lin Ye could even come to his senses, they had already run off to the stream. "Brother Lin Ye, why is your face so red? You haven't even been kissed by a girl before, have you?" Luna said mischievously at Lin Ye. Lin Ye rolled his eyes and said, "You don't want meat tonight, do you? Hurry up and come help." Oh. When they came back after washing up, Lin Ye had also prepared some pork and carried it for them. It was only about 20 jin each, just within what they could bear. Needless to say, after the 2 washed up, Lin Ye was stunned. The sisters looked very alike. Oval faces, big eyes, and small lips that were quite sexy, making a man want to go up and kiss them. Their tattered clothes couldn't hide the striking beauty they gave off. Looking at that perky backside, they probably worked out often. But 80% of people in each country have had plastic surgery, so who knows whether it was natural. Big pervert. Just as Lin Ye was looking closely, Huang Ziyu's fierce voice came over. Hearing her words, Lin Ye rubbed his nose, a little embarrassed. It felt like he had been caught doing something guilty. Ahem. Anyway, let's hurry back. I'm afraid there may be danger later. Saying that, he hoisted the pork and headed back. He didn't know where the fish had been lost, and Lin Ye had no mind to look for it. He opened up a new path back, trying to avoid the corpses on the road. Fortunately, the water was still there. On the way, he learned that the 2 sisters were named Kim Mi-seon and Kim Hee-seon, and they were members of a girl group. Lin Ye had some impression of this girl group on the cruise ship, but hadn't had much contact with them. After all, Lin Ye was just a waiter, and the lowest level kind at that. So the circle he was in was far too small. The younger sister, Kim Hee-seon, was more outgoing and, along the way, kept chattering at Lin Ye in that awkward Chinese of hers, while the elder sister was a bit shy. Hearing Lin Ye laughing and joking with the 2 sisters all the way, Luna quietly walked up to Lin Ye's side and viciously pinched his waist. Then whispered in Lin Ye's ear, "Brother Lin Ye, having quite a good time laughing, huh? Don't tell me you're forgetting the old love because of a new flame." Hiss. No, you're all the same, Lin Ye said foolishly. What a weird woman. What new flame and old love? Who did I ever love? Next time I'll definitely spank her. Lin Ye thought to himself. Having too many women around isn't really a good thing either. Lin Ye shook his head. After returning to the camp, Lin Ye assigned them each their own duties, arranging tasks for them one by one. Huang Ziyu and Luna went to make a fire, while Kim Mi-seon and her sister used a blade to cut the pork. "Tonight, let's have some roast wild boar," Lin Ye said with his hands on his hips. "Yay!" Luna and the Kim Mi-seon sisters answered excitedly. Huang Ziyu just glanced at Lin Ye, without saying a word, and the movements of her hands did not stop. Lin Ye looked up at the fish hanging on the rock wall, but they were gone, and he froze for a moment. Damn, how long have we only been out? How come the fish are gone? Lin Ye quickly climbed up to check. Hearing Lin Ye's words, the four women all stopped what they were doing and looked at him. When Lin Ye climbed up, he saw that the fish were all beside the golden eagle's nest. This is bad. These were rubbed with sea salt. Birds can die from eating that. Lin Ye hurriedly checked on the two little silly birds. The two little silly birds had their eyes open, chirping at Lin Ye, and they even opened their mouths wide at the hand Lin Ye reached out, thinking he had come to feed them. Looking at the situation, there probably wasn't a big problem. Most likely the big eagle had come back from looking for food, saw the fish Lin Ye had hung there, and carried them over. Two fish were missing, but it wasn't highly concentrated salt, so a small intake should still be okay. When Lin Ye was a child, he had raised a myna and even taught it to talk. Because of a joke by a friend from the same village, it was fed a small pinch of table salt, and that very night it went straight back to Bird Planet. He took the fish down, then cut some wild boar meat, and brought it up to feed the two little silly birds. They were not resistant at all to being fed by Lin Ye and the other one. Night fell. They were eating fragrant pork and drinking sweet fish soup. Wow, this life is really flavorful, Lin Ye said as he chewed the pork. You should be thinking about how we're going to rest tonight. Lin Ye, who had been happily eating, was choked by Huang Ziyu's remark. I've already thought it through. I'll sleep in the cave, and the four of you can keep watch below, Lin Ye said shamelessly. Actually, Lin Ye just wanted to tease them a little and see how they would react. Hearing this, Luna said somewhat unhappily, Brother Lin Ye, how about I sleep in the cave too? I'll sleep with you. Anyway, two people can fit. This girl was still as thick-skinned as ever, not caring about what others might think. Huang Ziyu teased a little. Sure, you two can sleep up there. There happens to be a box of little umbrellas up there, just right for use. Little umbrellas? What little umbrellas? Kim Hee-seon asked in confusion. Kim Hee-seon tugged at her hand to signal her to be quiet, then explained it in her ear. Hearing her sister's words, Kim Hee-seon quickly covered her blushing cheeks with her hand. I don't mind. It depends on Brother Lin Ye. Luna smiled. Hearing Luna's words, Huang Ziyu was somewhat surprised. Shouldn't women be a bit more reserved? Or are Western women just more open? Lin Ye said somewhat awkwardly. Well, I was just joking. No matter what, I'm a man. How could I let you all keep watch below? Before Lin Ye could finish, Huang Ziyu interrupted him. I actually think what you said just now is right. If you rest well, you'll have more energy during the day, and when facing danger we'll have a better chance of winning. Besides, with the four of us keeping watch, we can also look out for each other. Hearing Huang Ziyu's words, Lin Ye felt somewhat moved. Whether it was for Lin Ye's sake or for her own, the analysis was very much on point. All right, I'm the captain, so you all will follow my arrangements. Although the space up there is a bit small, the four of you can still squeeze in. Lin Ye said. What about you? Appa. Kim Hee-seon moved her small hand away from her face and asked. I'll spend the night sleeping below against the rock wall. If there's danger, I'll climb up at the first moment too, so don't worry. After all, I'm a man. Lin Ye got up and patted his butt, then said. Hearing Lin Ye's words, Huang Ziyu opened her mouth as if she still wanted to say something, but when she saw the warning look in Lin Ye's eyes, she held it back. After a night had passed, Huang Ziyu was still the first one up, but when she came down, the campfire was still burning, yet Lin Ye was nowhere to be seen, which made her a little worried. The sound of trees collapsing came from the woods, and Huang Ziyu carefully followed the sound. Lin Ye, are you there? Is that you? Huang Ziyu shouted toward the woods. Oh, it's me. Don't be afraid. Lin Ye replied. Hearing Lin Ye answer, Huang Ziyu lowered her guard and walked to his side. She saw a stone axe in Lin Ye's hand, and beside him were more than a dozen small trees as thick as an arm that had already been cut down. Why are you chopping down so many trees? Huang Ziyu asked in confusion. Aren't you pretty smart? Do you even need to ask me that? Lin Ye said with a smile. Fine. If you won't say it, forget it. I was originally thinking you might need some help, but it seems you don't need any help. Huang Ziyu deliberately stomped her foot, and after saying that, turned around to head back. Hey, don't go. I really do need help right now, Lin Ye quickly said. Then when I asked you why you were chopping down so many trees, why didn't you say so? Huang Ziyu said. Wasn't I thinking that since you're smarter than them, you'd be able to guess it? Lin Ye said with an awkward laugh. Humph. Then let me tell you, never make a woman guess something she doesn't want to guess. Huang Ziyu rolled her eyes. Lin Ye froze for a moment, touched his forehead, and said, how would I know that? I've never really understood women. Just as Huang Ziyu was sulking, Lin Ye added, go help me call all of them over, and help me carry all these trees back to the rock cave. Huang Ziyu squatted on the ground, Playing with a foxtail grass she had no idea where she had pulled from, and said flatly, "I'm not going. If you want to go, go yourself." Lin Ye was a little baffled. He hadn't offended her, had he? No matter how dense he was, he could tell by now that she was angry. So he changed his tone and said, "Oh, Ziyu, beautiful lady. One look at you and it's obvious you're willing to help, kind-hearted, and so beautiful too. Whoever marries you will surely have smoke rising from their ancestors' graves. Let whoever wants smoke have it. I'm not kind-hearted. I'm vicious, I'm telling you." Huang Ziyu pouted and said, "Actually, I chopped down these trees because I want to build a small wooden hut at the campsite. You all sleep in the cave, so I can only figure something out for myself. What if I get bitten by a venomous snake at night? And what if a wolf comes and carries me off?" Lin Ye started playing the sympathy card. Hearing Lin Ye's words, Huang Ziyu herself knew what mattered more. A woman's heart is actually contradictory sometimes. Even when she clearly knows she shouldn't be so fussy, she still wants a man to coax her a little, to give her an explanation and a way to step down gracefully. "You're a wolf too. Anyway, you're the same kind as them." Huang Ziyu said cruel things with her mouth, but still got up and walked back. "Wait here, I'll go call them." Huang Ziyu stopped bickering with Lin Ye. Before long, the girls all came over, and after several trips back and forth, they carried all the wood back. Lin Ye chopped down some more. Looking at the stone axe in his hand, it was already chipped and blunt. "This thing can't be used anymore. It's way too much effort to chop with," Lin Ye said, shaking his hand. After chopping down dozens of trees in a row, his hands were aching from the shock. He hoisted the remaining trees onto his shoulder and headed back. At noon, the giant eagle came back with another small wild rabbit in its claws. This time it went straight back to the nest to feed the little golden eagle. The little golden eagle had already been fed once by Lin Ye that morning, so it wasn't very hungry. Seeing that the little golden eagle didn't open its beak, and that there was still the wild boar meat Lin Ye had left beside the nest, the giant eagle started eating by itself. Probably because it had been looking for food for its chick, it had gone hungry without eating. Lin Ye didn't observe them too much. He just told Luna to keep an eye on the giant eagle's movements at all times. After all, it was a bird of prey, so if it flew down to attack, they had to be ready to respond at any time. Getting slashed by its talons would be far more serious than just a few bruises. At noon, Lin Ye cooked another pot of wild boar meat. And after the girls had eaten and drunk their fill, Lin Ye led them in building their own little wooden hut. After an afternoon of hard work, the little wooden hut finally took shape. Built along the rock wall beneath the cave, the space was just enough to hold about 3 adults, and 3 sides were enclosed with wood. The only drawback was that the top was still open, with no suitable materials to cover it. But at least more than half of it was done. They could only go into the jungle later to see if there were any good materials. "Lin Ye, should we go check the seaside? Maybe there's a rescue team?" Huang Ziyu said, handing over a bottle of water. "Okay, let's go take a look. You two stay at the camp and keep watch. Don't worry, if there's any news, I'll come back and tell you," Lin Ye said to the 2 Kim sisters. Afraid that Lin Ye would leave them behind, Jin Shishan said with a wronged expression, "Appa Lin Ye, let's go together. We won't cause trouble on the way. Don't worry. If there's a rescue team, I'll come notify you, I promise. Besides, the camp needs someone to watch it, and there's still so much pork. If some wild beast carries it off, we'll have to look for food again," Lin Ye said, pointing at the pork hanging from the tree. Hearing this, Jin Shishan didn't insist any further, though she was still somewhat worried. She told the 2 of them that after Lin Ye left, they should move the things into the cave and not come down unless necessary. Taking Huang Ziyu and Luna with him, he came to the seaside again. This time, something felt off. The seawater seemed to have receded much farther than in the previous 2 days, and fish would jump onto the beach from time to time. "Wow, brother Lin Ye, so many fish." Luna ran over excitedly. Seeing this, Lin Ye fell into thought. When something abnormal happens, there's usually a reason. "Lin Ye, the sea has receded 2 or 3 meters today, right? And why are these fish jumping up by themselves?" Huang Ziyu said with a frown. "Oh, come on, Sister Ziyu. Isn't it even better if the fish jump up on their own? We wouldn't be able to catch them in the sea anyway," Luna said, holding a large grouper in her hands. Lin Ye pondered, watching fish continuously leap up from the sea. At a glance, the sky was also clear for miles, and it didn't look like anything was about to happen. "No, this isn't right. The sea has suddenly receded, and so many fish and shrimp are appearing in the shallows. There must be a major disaster coming. If not a typhoon, then a tsunami," Lin Ye said gravely. "Brother Lin Ye, the sky is cloudless for miles. How could there be a tsunami or typhoon?" Luna said, looking at the blue sky. Lin Ye, could your judgment be wrong? Huang Ziyu also asked softly. Do you remember the warning signs before an earthquake? Lin Ye asked. Caught off guard by Lin Ye's question, Huang Ziyu's pupils slowly widened as she said, You mean these fish and shrimp are a warning sign of a major disaster? That's right. Whether my judgment is correct or not, we need to return to camp immediately. At the very least, we can take shelter there. Lin Ye said, nodding heavily. Luna, stop picking them up. We need to go, Lin Ye said to Luna, who was still picking up fish and shrimp. Ah, but what a pity. I was still hoping we could eat some seafood. Luna pouted, but she still picked up a relatively large one and held it in her hands. Seeing this, Lin Ye said to Huang Ziyu, Let's each take one and hurry. Okay. Huang Ziyu immediately picked up the fish closest to her. Go, we can't stay here, Lin Ye said to the two of them. When the three of them entered the woods, Lin Ye turned back to look at the sea. At that moment, the distant sea suddenly turned white, revealing a long, bright wall of water. Run, it really is a tsunami. Lin Ye threw the fish in his hand to the two of them and said. The two of them also turned back and saw this scene by the shore, and immediately ran toward the camp. At this moment, the two of them still couldn't bear to let go of their seafood feast, holding it in their arms and reluctant to throw it away. Lin Ye roared at them. Throw it away, your lives are more important. Rumble and unusually loud roars suddenly came from the seaside. Hearing this sound, Lin Ye knew the tsunami was very close to them. Not caring about anything else, he grabbed the two of them by the hands and desperately ran toward the camp. With a scream, Huang Ziyu's foot was tripped by a tree root, and she fell heavily to the ground. Lin Ye quickly turned back, wanting to pull her up and keep running. But just as she stood up, she fell again. It seemed her ankle injury was very serious. No, it hurts so much, I can't even stand up, Huang Ziyu said in pain. Luna, you go first, don't look back, and once you get back, immediately climb into the rock cave, Lin Ye shouted at Luna. Rumble the sky behind them suddenly flashed with lightning and thunder, accompanied by a torrential downpour. But Lin Ye and the others still had some distance to go before reaching the camp. Then what about you? Luna said anxiously. You go first, I'll carry her and catch up, Lin Ye said as he crouched down, signaling Huang Ziyu to climb onto his back. Luna still wanted to come over and help, but Lin Ye shouted at her sharply. You hurry up and go, don't worry about us. Otherwise the three of us won't get away. Luna looked deeply at Lin Ye, then turned and ran toward the camp, only hoping the two of them could keep up. Soon she was out of sight. Huang Ziyu was no longer being coy either. Lin Ye carried her and ran all the way toward the camp, stumbling to the ground from time to time. The path through the woods was really difficult to walk. On top of that, carrying a person, he didn't know how many times he had fallen. The heavy rain in the sky also finally began to fall. Lin Ye, I'm sorry, I've dragged you down. Why don't you leave me behind? Otherwise, the two of us won't be able to get away, Huang Ziyu said somewhat guiltily. What are you saying? How could I leave you behind? Don't worry, we'll definitely be fine. Lin Ye patted her on the butt and said, At a time like this, you're still taking advantage of me. As she spoke, Huang Ziyu forcefully pinched Lin Ye's ear. Tisk, sorry, I was holding you up with both hands behind me, so I thought it was your back. But it's actually pretty well developed, hee, Lin Ye said with a sleazy laugh. Huang Ziyu angrily slapped Lin Ye's back hard. The downpour blurred Lin Ye's vision, and he had to wipe it away from time to time. The rest of the road became exceptionally difficult. Watching Lin Ye repeatedly fall and then get back up, Huang Ziyu was somewhat moved. At least in such a desperate situation, there was a man willing to risk his life for her. Suddenly, the sound of trees collapsing came from behind, and she knew the tsunami was very close to them. She pushed Lin Ye away and fell heavily to the ground, saying to him, You go, you don't need to worry about me anymore. Are you out of your mind? Hurry up and come here, don't waste time. Lin Ye said sternly. Go on, don't worry about me. What right do you have to save me? Huang Ziyu shouted at Lin Ye, her voice tinged with tears. I say, you woman, don't be so ungrateful. Do you want me to give you a beating before you'll behave? Lin Ye ignored her frantic struggle, hoisted her onto his shoulder, and fiercely slapped her but hard. Sob, sob, sob. That slap made her burst into tears. You big pervert, I don't want you meddling in my business. Put me down now, sob, sob, sob. Lin Ye ignored her. The water had already risen to their knees, and the heavy rain was still pouring down. It was already hard to move even an inch. It probably wouldn't be long before the seawater submerged them. He wondered whether Luna had made it back to the cave yet. Lin Ye couldn't worry about anything else now. Carrying Huang Zi in the water, he was caught in a dilemma, unable to advance or retreat. I'm sorry, Lin Ye, It's all my fault for dragging you down. Huang Ziyu also stopped crying and struggling and said while lying on Lin Ye's back, "Don't say that. No matter what, I'm still your captain. How could I just stand by and watch you die?" Lin Ye said helplessly. Standing there and looking around, Lin Ye was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. "Looks like we can only take a risk," Lin Ye said, looking at a big tree not far away. Carrying Huang Ziyu, he waded through the water toward the big tree. "Step on me and climb up. The higher you climb, the better," Lin Ye said to Huang Ziyu. Huang Ziyu stepped on Lin Ye's back. "No, Lin Ye, I can't reach it." Lin Ye looked and saw that Huang Ziyu's hand was still 50 centimeters short of grabbing the branch above. He gave her another hard boost, but she still couldn't reach it. He could only put her down first and said, "Let's hold on to this tree, and in a bit we'll use the water's buoyancy to slowly climb up." This is the only way," Huang Ziyu said as she hugged the big tree tightly. The water kept rising higher and higher, and with the fierce wind and heavy rain, many small trees were washed and snapped. Luckily, this one was fairly thick and sturdy, blocking the fallen trunks. Otherwise, they risked being hit at any moment. The water had now already risen past their chests, but as the waves came crashing in one after another, Huang Ziyu would occasionally choke on a few mouthfuls of seawater. "Lin Ye, I'm a little exhausted," Huang Ziyu said through gritted teeth. "Hurry and climb onto my back and hold on to me tightly." Lin Ye pulled her hand toward himself. In no time, Lin Ye's feet had already left the ground by an unknown height, and he took the opportunity to grab the branch above and said to Huang Ziyu, "You climb up first." Enduring the pain in her leg, Huang Ziyu gritted her teeth and climbed up step by step, while Lin Ye would support her legs from below from time to time. After she climbed up, Lin Ye also quickly climbed up. Judging by the height above the water, they should be able to avoid danger. After the tsunami passed over the island, by the time it reached here after being blocked by the forest, the impact was already very small. "Why does it feel like just a small wave splashing over?" Lin Ye said with a frown. "Isn't that a good thing? As long as we're safe," Huang Ziyu said. Lin Ye felt that something was off, but for now they really were safe. The seawater is receding," Lin Ye said, looking at the seawater. It had just been at the level of the branches, but now it was retreating at a speed visible to the naked eye, coming fast and leaving fast too. "It's receding, it's really receding," Huang Ziyu also said happily. "Hold tight to the trunk and don't move. I'll climb up and take a look." As Lin Ye spoke, he climbed upward. Only by climbing higher could he see the situation clearly. "Be careful, the trunk is soaked and very slippery." Huang Ziyu's voice came from below his feet. Lin Ye ignored her, and in no time he had climbed up, probably to a height of 30 meters above the ground, while Huang Ziyu was at around 15 meters. At this height, his view was no longer blocked, but the torrential rain and raging wind still kept him from seeing very far. The sky was all gloomy and dark. Crash! A bolt of lightning came with a clap of thunder. "Fuck, I'm not going to get struck by lightning, am I? Being in a tree during a thunderstorm is a huge taboo. I'd better get down quickly." The thunderclap startled Lin Ye so badly that he almost slipped off. Just as Lin Ye was about to climb down, another bolt of lightning flashed, bigger than the last one, lighting up more than half of the sea surface. Using the light from the lightning, he looked out. Holy shit! On the horizon, a gigantic wall of water was slowly bearing down on the island, even bigger than the last wave and far more imposing, estimated to be about 50 meters high. "Climb up! Hurry! Quick! There's no time. There's another even bigger tsunami coming," Lin Ye shouted loudly to Huang Ziyu. Hearing Lin Ye's words, Huang Ziyu anxiously tried to climb up. But the more anxious she got, the harder it was to climb. Several times she nearly fell. Lin Ye looked at Huang Ziyu struggling to climb and could only worry helplessly. With her injured foot, and being a girl who had never climbed a tree before, there was nothing she could do on her own. Some of the branches were fairly far apart. The only reason she had been able to climb to a height of 15 meters was pure luck. Although this tree was big, it was still quite densely grown. Lin Ye slowly climbed down and soon reached her side. "Grab my neck. I'll take you up." Huang Ziyu obediently wrapped her arms around Lin Ye's neck. Still not fully reassured, Lin Ye took off his shirt and tied her to himself from behind, just like when a mother carries a small child on her back. There was no time to care about appearances. He climbed upward with all his strength, nearly failing to catch the branches several times. Huang Ziyu clung tightly to Lin Ye's neck, and at last they reached the highest spot. He wanted to climb even higher, but he couldn't get hold of the branches above and had no choice but to give up. "Hey, miss, you can loosen your grip a little now. I'm almost out of breath," Lin Ye said, patting her hand. Just now, because she had been under extreme tension, but hearing Lin Ye say that, her hands loosened, though she still held onto Lin Ye's shoulders. Lin Ye watched the tsunami drawing closer in the distance, both hands gripping the trunk tightly, only hoping this tree would hold up and not snap. Watching the approaching tsunami while lying on Lin Ye's back, Huang Ziyu trembled a little. Don't be afraid. Being afraid now won't help anyway. We can only leave it to fate. Lin Ye sighed and said, I just wonder what's happening over at the cave. Lin Ye said, trying to distract Huang Ziyu. The terrain by the cave is relatively high, but with a tsunami this tall. Huang Ziyu said, looking at the tsunami. Although it's about 50 meters high out at sea, the island itself rises the farther inland you go, so by the time it reaches where Lin Ye and the others are, it'll probably just about level out. The wooden hut just built at the camp probably won't survive, but the cave should be mostly fine. It's coming. Hold tight. Hold your breath. Looking at the roaring tsunami rushing toward them, Lin Ye had still underestimated its height. It was about 2 meters higher than where Lin Ye and the others were now. The tsunami crashed over with a roar, snapping many trees in half, while the smaller ones were uprooted entirely. The seawater submerged Lin Ye's head, and the big tree swayed violently. Hit by the surge, the two of them were nearly swept forward along with the wave. Lin Ye clung desperately to the trunk, using the water's buoyancy to quickly climb upward. He had no idea how far the seawater had risen above his head. Just as Lin Ye was about to suffocate, he finally broke the surface and gulped down air in great breaths. Cough, cough, cough. Huang Ziyu on his back was in no better shape, coughing violently, clearly having swallowed quite a bit of seawater. Are you okay? Lin Ye asked hurriedly. I am fine, cough, cough. Huang Ziyu said, watching the waves surge swiftly into the forest behind them. The woods had already turned into a vast expanse of water. In the direction of the camp, a majestic stone mountain stood towering there. I hope they're okay too. Lin Ye sighed. This was the first time for Lin Ye and the others to see such a huge tsunami. Before, they had only seen it in movie clips. When we get back in the future, we'll have something to brag about. After who knew how long, the two of them were running out of strength in the tree, and the seawater was slowly receding too. Come on, let's climb down slowly. Lin Ye led Huang Ziyu slowly down the tree. Every time the seawater receded a little, they climbed down a section, so that even if they fell, the risk wouldn't be too great. The two of us were pretty lucky. Such huge lightning didn't strike down. Lin Ye said with a smile. Maybe heaven thinks you're not a playboy, and you don't make reckless vows. If you were a playboy, I'd definitely get struck by lightning along with you. Huang Ziyu teased. I'd like to be a playboy too, but unfortunately, I never had the chance. Before I met you girls, I hadn't even held a girl's hand. Lin Ye said innocently. TCH, who would believe that? Huang Ziyu said unbelievingly. Lin Ye said nothing, just untied the shirts that had been tied together and let Huang Ziyu climb down. Although she wasn't very heavy, climbing up and down the tree was still quite exhausting. At the same time, the softness against his chest also left his back, and Lin Ye felt a little reluctant. Haha. The seawater had already gradually receded, and the green plants below had all emerged. The two of them slowly finally got down from the tree. The whole forest had been soaked by seawater once. This road is a bit hard to walk. Lin Ye looked at Huang Ziyu behind him and added, Is your leg okay? Can you walk by yourself? We need to hurry back to the camp and see how they're doing. Huang Ziyu shook her injured right leg and tried taking 2 steps. It's still a little painful, but I can walk by myself. Lin Ye bent down, took off her shoe, and there was some redness and swelling around her ankle. It should be a sprain. Sit on the ground first, and I'll massage it for you. Huang Ziyu obediently sat to the side. Both of them were soaked through, their clothes clinging tightly to their bodies. And Huang Ziyu's proud figure was fully displayed before Lin Ye's eyes. You're not using helping me massage my foot as an excuse to take advantage of me, are you? Huang Ziyu said as she pulled her clothes tighter. Heaven is my witness, I'm not that filthy. I'm afraid if you delay treating your foot injury, it'll only get worse. There aren't any doctors here. Lin Ye said with a serious expression, patting his chest. Hearing Lin Ye's words, Huang Ziyu burst out laughing and said, I'm teasing you. You've saved me so many times already, so I still trust your character, but letting you take a little advantage isn't impossible either. What did you say? I didn't hear clearly. Lin Ye was a little doubtful of his ears, staring at the beauty before him with wide eyes, hoping she would say it again. Oh, nothing. If you didn't hear it clearly, then forget it. As Huang Ziyu spoke, she turned her head away. Lin Ye didn't dwell on it any further and massaged and stretched Huang Ziyu's foot for about 10 minutes. Come on, Take a few more steps and try, Lin Ye said as he helped her put her shoe back on. Huh, my foot doesn't hurt as much anymore. Lin Ye, I couldn't tell, you've got this skill too, Huang Ziyu said excitedly after taking a few steps. Of course, it's a skill passed down from my ancestors, a family secret technique. Lin Ye had only imitated what he saw on TV anyway. Her foot injury wasn't that serious to begin with. But receiving praise, especially praise from a beauty, Lin Ye naturally couldn't resist boasting a little. Let's go, let's head back first. Lin Ye wrung out his shirt hard as he spoke. Hom. Watching Lin Ye wring out his shirt, Huang Ziyu obediently nodded. She also wanted to take off the clothes she was wearing and wring them out. It was really unbearable, but after all, with just a man and a woman, it was still inconvenient. After a difficult journey, they finally returned to the camp. In fact, the camp was only 2 li away. The forest had been washed over by floodwaters, and the path they had taken before was gone. Lin Ye had no choice but to clear a new route toward the camp. The wooden hut below the cliff was long gone. Brother Lin Ye, Sister Ziyu, you're back. That's great, Wu. Luna looked at the two of them, both in a terrible state, and rushed toward Huang Ziyu, crying loudly. Appa Lin Ye, you're finally back. We were so worried about you. The Kim sisters also hurried over and said, Haha, that's right. We're blessed with great fortune. After surviving a great disaster, there will surely be good fortune ahead. Lin Ye said with a smile, then asked again, By the way, how did you survive when the tsunami came? Luna ran back and told us a tsunami was coming, so we all climbed into the cave to take shelter. Kim Maishan said. Before she could finish, her younger sister Kim Shishan cut in. Yes, Brother Lin Ye, you have no idea how dangerous it was. When the first wave of the tsunami came over, it hadn't even reached the camp yet, and we thought we were safe. Later, the big eagle flew back and carried off the little golden eagle, then kept calling above us. And only after hearing the sound of big trees falling in the forest did we realize an even bigger wave of the tsunami was coming. We climbed up along the vines at the cave entrance for a stretch before barely escaping. Even the cave was flooded. Hearing Kim Shishan chatter on without pause beside his ear, Lin Ye was also glad they were okay. So how much supplies do we still have now? Lin Ye asked. When the seawater receded, we climbed down to check, and there was only 1 steel bar left in the cave. Everything else had been washed away by the sea. Kim Shishan said, Well, that really is like going back to square one overnight. Lin Ye shook his head and said. Lin Ye sat on a rock and rested for a moment, then immediately instructed the women to first clear the area around the camp and clean out the cave as well. But now the only problem is that there's no tinder left, and there's no dry firewood in the forest. Even if we want to drill wood to make fire, we'll have to wait until the sun comes out and dries everything first. Looking at how the women were all soaked through, it wouldn't do for them to catch a cold. I guess this tsunami wasn't easy on Hua Gu and Wang Qin's side either, huh? At this moment, Lin Ye suddenly thought of this, somewhat self-mockingly. He could barely protect himself, let alone others. I want to go over to the stream to take a look. You guys first clean up the water in the cave. At least so there'll still be a place to rest at night. Lin Ye said to the women. Brother Lin Ye, I'll go with you. Luna volunteered. Okay, then go up and help me bring down the steel bar. Lin Ye replied. Lin Ye, isn't it a bit too hasty to go to the stream now? The seawater has only just receded. Huang Ziyu said with some concern. It's fine. I'm just going to take a look and, on the way, wash off the mud on my body. Do you want to come too? Lin Ye asked. I won't go. While you're away, I can take off my clothes, wring them dry, and hang them outside to air a bit. Huang Ziyu said. The tsunami had receded, and the heavy rain had long since stopped. And the sun had squeezed through the clouds by now too. Without a fire to dry things, with the sun out, the clothes should dry pretty quickly. After hearing this, Lin Ye didn't say anything else. Without him there, the women could feel a bit more at ease and boldly take off as much of their close-fitting clothing as possible to dry it. Or, you should skip going too and take off the clothes on your body to dry them as well. Lin Ye said to Luna, who had just climbed down from the cave carrying the steel bar. No, this time I definitely want to go with you. Luna said firmly. Who knows why she was so determined. After spending these past few days together, Lin Ye had also gotten a rough sense of her personality. Carefree on the surface, but somewhat stubborn. All right, then let's go. Lin Ye said helplessly. Lin Ye, Luna, you two be careful. Animals will sense danger in advance and run deep into the forest to hide from disasters. Now that the seawater has receded, some wild beasts may also come out to forage. Huang Ziyu said solemnly. If there's any danger, I'll come back immediately. I still know a thing or two about running for my life. Lin Ye nodded and said, Appa Lin Ye, you must come back safely. We'll all be waiting for you at the camp. Jin Shishan also ran over and said. Her older sister wasn't good with words, but her face was also full of worry. Looking at the sincere expression on the young girl's face, it was clear she wasn't putting on an act. Don't worry, just wash up nice and clean at home and wait obediently for me to come back. Lin Ye joked. Hearing Lin Ye's words, Jin Shishan blushed a little and pouted, then nodded gently. This young girl was truly adorably innocent. Lin Ye waved to everyone and headed toward the stream with Luna. Brother Lin Ye, is teasing that little girl really that fun? Why don't you tease me instead? Luna suddenly asked on the way. How was that teasing? I was just deliberately making a joke to lighten the mood. Lin Ye said speechlessly. Humph. Just now you even told that little girl to wash up and wait for you to come back. Luna rolled her eyes. Seeing Luna's playful look, she seemed like a little wife who had been wronged. Say, little Luna, you're not jealous, are you? Don't tell me you've fallen for me. Lin Ye laughed. Yes, I do like you, brother Lin Ye. I really like you. Luna said, staring at Lin Ye with wide eyes. Listening to Luna's words, Lin Ye didn't think she was joking. Could this girl really have fallen for me? Her, but does seem pretty big too. If I married her and brought her home, she should be able to bear me a son, right? Lin Ye thought to himself, but after thinking it over, he felt it wasn't very realistic. If the rescue team came and they got off this deserted island, with her family background and status, she would probably forget all about Lin Ye in no time. Lin Ye had no car, no house, and didn't even have a proper job. He had never dared to think about a relationship so mismatched in status. In this shipwreck, everything Lin Ye owned had sunk into the sea, and after getting out, he'd probably have to start all over again. Stop joking. Even if you like me, I can't afford to support you. I'm just a poor boy. Lin Ye turned back around and continued walking forward as he spoke. I really do like you, brother Lin Ye. I have money. I can support you. Luna caught up to Lin Ye and said, All right, I believe you. But let's solve the problems in front of us first. We still don't even know what we'll be eating tomorrow. Lin Ye said perfunctorily. Luna still wanted to say something, but swallowed the words at her lips. She took something out from her chest and handed it to Lin Ye, saying, Brother Lin Ye, this is for you. Lin Ye looked at the half bottle of water Luna handed over and said in surprise, Didn't it all get washed away by the seawater? How come you still secretly kept half a bottle of water? Although Lin Ye said Luna was keeping something in reserve for herself, he was still very happy because this girl was genuinely thinking of him. How is this keeping something for myself? I worked so hard to save this, and I kept it especially for you. Luna pouted and said, All right, I know you're doing this for my own good. Lin Ye said as he patted Luna's head. Only then did the corners of Luna's pursed lips curl up happily. The two talked as they walked, and finally arrived at the creek. The water level in the creek was still very high, and the current was somewhat rapid. Actually, Lin Ye just wanted to come and see whether the iron cage was still there, but looking at the situation, it had probably been washed who knows where, and Lin Ye felt a little disappointed. Brother Hua, how about we kill her, and then? Park Guochang whispered softly into Brother Hua's ear. You fucking idiot, the other one was washed away by the seawater. If we kill her too, what am I supposed to use to amuse myself? You? As Brother Hua spoke, he slapped him on the head. It turned out that when the tsunami hit, Brother Hua and the others had also escaped disaster by relying on this big tree, but unfortunately, the other woman didn't make it up in time. They had been going hungry these past few days, and there was simply no food to be found in the woods. The sleazy man Park Guochang came up with a crooked idea: kill the woman and eat her flesh. This kind of thinking was chilling. Cannibalism. These people truly had no bottom line. Now that the seawater has receded, get out there and find food right now, or I'll butcher you. Brother Hua said viciously. Brother Hua, it's not that I don't want to go look, it's that there really isn't any food. Every time I go out, I'm chased by wild beasts. Park Guochang said in a tearful voice while kneeling on the ground. That's because you're useless. Every time a Gue goes to the seaside to check for the rescue team, he can still bring back a lot of crabs and fish. But you've never brought back food even once. If you still can't bring back food this time, then you don't need to come back yourself either. Brother Hua said as he kicked Park Guochang in the shoulder. A Gue, drive him off. Keep an eye on him. If he doesn't bring food back, kill him. Brother Hua said to a Gue. Yes, Brother Hua. A Gue responded. It had to be said. This Gue was quite loyal, still willing to serve his boss at a time like this. Brother Hua, no, please, there really isn't any food. I really can't find any food. Park Guochang cried. If you can't find any, keeping you is just a waste of food, so kill him then. Brother Hua turned and said to a Gue. After hearing this, a Gue pulled a dagger from his waist and walked toward Park Guochang. Seeing a Gue stride over menacingly, Park Guochang was so frightened that he ran toward the woods, saying as he ran, "I'll go, Brother Hua. I'll go look for food right now." What a fucking useless piece of trash. These past few days, I've eaten so many crabs and fish that I've got the fucking runs. Brother Hua said, clutching his stomach. Brother Hua, just hang in there a little longer. Maybe the rescue team will arrive soon. A Gue comforted him from the side. Brother Hua looked at the weak, exhausted woman nearby and said, "A Gue, I don't have anything else to give you here, so make do with this woman for now. You've worked hard these past few days too. Good thing you noticed in time. Otherwise, we probably all would have been buried by the tsunami." Hearing Brother Hua's words, a Gue was a little stunned. In his eyes, any woman Brother Hua had touched, even if he was done with her, was not someone underlings like them could touch. Meanwhile, on Park Guochang's side, he carefully searched for food all along the woods. Damn it, I can't stay with Brother Hua anymore. If I go back without finding food, I'm dead anyway. I might as well find myself a place to hide. Park Guochang cursed as he walked. At this moment, the direction he was heading happened to lead toward Lin Ye and the others' camp. There seemed to be people up ahead. Park Guochang saw 3 women sitting under the rock wall ahead. The women were all wearing very little and sitting cross-legged there. He didn't dare alert them and lay in the grass observing Huang Ziyu and the others' movements. If I trick these women into going to Brother Hua's place, then Brother Hua probably won't make me go out looking for food anymore, right? After all, Brother Hua's place has fresh water. It's a good place. Park Guochang thought excitedly to himself. Your clothes should be dry by now. Put them on. It would be awkward if Lin Ye comes back later. Huang Ziyu said to the 2 sisters. Sister Ziyu, Appa Lin Ye has been gone for so long and still hasn't come back. Could something have happened to him? Kim Hee-sun said after getting dressed. Don't worry, he's pretty sly. Thinking about the past few days spent with Lin Ye, Huang Ziyu realized that Lin Ye's wilderness survival skills were actually quite strong. I think Mr. Lin Ye is a good person. He will definitely be able to lead us to survive. Kim Mi-sun, who was not good with words, said. Crack who's there? Is it Lin Ye? Huang Ziyu asked toward the woods where the sound had come from. Crouching in the grass, Park Guochang accidentally stepped on a branch and snapped it, and the noise alerted Huang Ziyu. Faced with Huang Ziyu's question, Park Guochang stopped hiding and slowly walked out. The 2 sisters watched as a short, sleazy man emerged from the woods. It wasn't Lin Ye, and they looked at him warily, quickly moving closer to Huang Ziyu. Who are you? How did you end up here? Kim Hee-sun asked. Of course, Huang Ziyu recognized the man in front of her. A few days ago, when they had walked over from the beach and passed by Brother Hua's place, she had seen this man and secretly thought to herself, this is bad, they found this place. Although Huang Ziyu hadn't expressed her stance that day, she had still taken Lin Ye's words to heart. Hearing Kim Hee-sun's question, Park Guochang said with a smile, so you are from our Great H Nation too, huh? That's really great. My name is Park Guochang, and I'm from Great H Nation too. Park Guochang introduced himself, and the 2 sisters were clearly somewhat delighted. After all, they had met a fellow countryman. Kim Hee-sun was about to walk over when Huang Ziyu grabbed her and said, Oh, do you need something? The icy attitude made Park Guochang a little awkward, but the smile on his face did not lessen in the slightest. Shamelessly, he said, I don't mean any harm. I was just passing by and happened to run into you. I suppose you're survivors from the ship too, right? The tsunami came and you actually survived too? That's wonderful. Of course, if you don't have any business here, then please leave. We don't have anything here to entertain you with. Huang Ziyu said coldly. The 2 sisters were a bit confused. Why was Huang Ziyu acting like this? At the very least, they were fellow countrymen, and he probably wouldn't harm them, right? Sister Ziyu, should we ask him for some useful information? It doesn't seem very nice to just drive him away like this, does it? Kim Hee-sun said softly. Only then did Huang Ziyu remember that although she knew this Park Guochang was not a good person, the 2 sisters did not know that. But with Park Guochang right in front of them, it wasn't easy to explain. By the way, ladies, I'm not alone. There are a few of us over there together. We have fresh water there, and food too. How about coming back with me? Don't worry, we're not bad people, and besides, we're fellow countrymen. Park Guochang said. He planned to use the food and fresh water to trick these women into going back with him first. And once they got to Brother Hua's place, they would be at their mercy. Sure, then take us over there. Kim Hee-sun said happily. Hearing Kim Hee-sun agree so cheerfully, Park Guochang thought they had taken the bait and secretly felt pleased with himself, already calculating which one of these beauties he should pick to enjoy later. No need. We still have 2 teammates who aren't here right now. We need to wait for them to come back before making a decision. Huang Ziyu tugged at Kim Hee-sun's clothes as she spoke. Right, brother Lin Ye and the others still haven't come back. So let's wait for them to come back together. Kim Hee-sun said after Huang Ziyu reminded her. Hearing them say there were still 2 more people, including a man, Park Guk-chang immediately felt that something was wrong, and then another idea came to mind. There are 2 more people? Who knows when they'll be back? How about this little beauty comes back with me first, gets familiar with the way, and then comes back to pick you up later? Park Guk-chang pointed at Jin Shishan and said, just now, it was this young girl who said she wanted to go with him, and thinking she would be easier to deceive, Park Guk-chang planned to lure one away first if he could, but his scheme was mistaken. My sister will wait with me, Jin Maishin said as she pulled Jin Shishan over. She didn't know why, but she just felt that the person in front of her made her very uncomfortable. Then how about this beauty instead? We just hunted a wild deer, and we have a natural shelter there. Even if tsunamis and wild beasts come, it's easy to hide from them. Still unwilling to give up, Park Guk-chang said to Huang Ziyu. Can't you understand human language? We already said we're waiting for someone, and we're not going. Do we need to drive you away? Huang Ziyu said impatiently. All right, don't be angry. I'll leave right now, he. Park Guk-chang said, waving his hand. He slowly backed toward the woods. Humph, since that's how it is, then don't blame me. Refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Once you fall into my hands, let's see how I'll deal with you. Even if I didn't find food, if I tell Brother Hua this news, he probably won't blame me. As Park Guk-chang spoke, he walked toward Brother Hua's camp. Sister Ziyu, why were you so hostile just now? I don't think he seemed to have any ill intent. Jin Shishan asked. I didn't dare say it while he was here. Let me tell you, when we first arrived, Huang Ziyu told the 2 sisters everything they had seen them doing when they arrived. Would they really dare do that? Aren't they afraid that once we're rescued, we'll call the police? Even after hearing what Huang Ziyu said, Jin Shishan still didn't quite believe it. Lin Ye and Luna saw it too. If you don't believe me, wait until they come back and ask them. If we had gone with him, our fate would probably have been the same as those 2 women, reduced to tools for them to vent their desires. Huang Ziyu said. Over on Lin Ye's side, he checked the place where the iron cage had been kept. After searching around, it really was nowhere to be seen. Who knew where the floodwater had washed it away to? Let's go, let's head back first. Lin Ye said to Luna. We're going back already? We only just got here a little while ago. Luna replied with a bit of disappointment. Luna had been thinking she could spend a little more time alone with Lin Ye, but instead they had to go back as soon as they arrived, so she couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. Seeing Luna's somewhat absent-minded expression, Lin Ye asked in confusion, What's wrong? Something on your mind? Oh, it's nothing. Then let's go back. Luna hurriedly said. Lin Ye was speechless. Just now she had looked unwilling to go back, and the next second her expression completely changed. A woman's heart is as hard to fathom as the bottom of the sea. Don't move, Luna. Don't turn around. Lin Ye said urgently as he looked behind Luna. What is it, brother Lin Ye? Luna's whole body stiffened, and she asked a little fearfully. There's a rabbit behind you eating grass. Don't move for now. Let me see if I can catch it in a moment. Lin Ye said somewhat excitedly, looking at a fat rabbit about 4 or 5 meters behind Luna. It was eating grass with a wary expression. If they caught it and brought it back, dinner would be settled. Hearing Lin Ye say it was a rabbit, Luna relaxed, but she still didn't move, because just now she had thought there was a wild wolf or a venomous snake behind her. Lin Ye tightened his grip on the steel rebar in his hand, wanting to try throwing it at the wild rabbit. At this distance, Lin Ye was very confident. When he was little, he often used a slingshot and skipped stones in the countryside, so his aim was still good. Luna, in a moment, slowly crouch down and don't block me, Lin Ye said softly. Luna nodded without speaking. Seeing Luna slowly crouch down, Lin Ye carefully observed the rabbit. The rabbit moved very quickly, and Lin Ye was looking for an opportunity. When he saw the rabbit just turn its head away, leaving its entire back to Lin Ye. Good opportunity. Lin Ye looked at the rabbit, whose entire back was in its blind spot, and seized this brief moment. He instantly hurled the steel bar in his hand at the wild rabbit. But he did not hit the rabbit. He only struck its big ear. The entire ear was pierced through, pinned into the dirt by the steel bar, and its 4 legs struggled desperately. The rabbit let out a shriek and rolled about wildly, looking like it was about to break free. Shit, don't run. Lin Ye sprang from the spot and lunged at the rabbit. Just before the rabbit broke free, he grabbed its hind legs. Its ear, under its desperate struggle, had already come off the steel bar. Luckily, Lin Ye was quick-eyed and quick-handed, otherwise dinner would have been ruined. Brother Lin Ye, this rabbit is so cute. Are we going to eat it? Luna got up and ran over to ask. She stroked the wild rabbit's fur with both hands, unable to let it go. If we don't eat it, what are we supposed to eat? We can't just starve, can we? Lin Ye shrugged and said. Lin Ye was holding the rabbit by the ear and did not dare let Luna take it, in case this girl had a moment of mercy and let it run off. Looking at the rabbit's hollow belly, it was probably hiding somewhere to avoid the tsunami, and only came out of the deep mountains after the tsunami receded, only to run straight into Lin Ye. It's getting dark. Wait here for me a moment, Lin Ye said to Luna. When Lin Ye returned to Luna's side again, the rabbit in his hands had already been gutted and skinned. Luna stared at Lin Ye and then at the skinned rabbit in his hand. Don't just stare, roasted rabbit meat is delicious, even better than the French feast you've had, Lin Ye said, flicking Luna's nose. Hearing that it was tasty, Luna's stomach immediately protested with a growl. Then I must properly try it tonight, Luna said shyly, touching her stomach. Lin Ye went back to the river once more, filled the only empty bottle with water, and then took Luna back toward the camp. On the way, Lin Ye kept thinking about one question. Could they really make fire by drilling wood? He had watched Bear Grylls videos before, and they seemed somewhat reliable. He had asked Luna to gather a lot of dry, easily combustible wood, but he had never tried it himself, not knowing whether it would work. Otherwise tonight they would only have to go hungry, since raw meat simply couldn't be eaten. Girls, we're back. Before Lin Ye even arrived, he shouted out first. Hearing Lin Ye's voice, Huang Ziyu and the other women all came out to greet him. Lin Ye, come here for a moment. I need to talk to you, Huang Ziyu said to Lin Ye. Seeing the anxious look in Huang Ziyu's eyes, Lin Ye immediately felt something was wrong and followed her to the side. What's wrong? Why are you so flustered? Lin Ye asked. Hearing Lin Ye's question, Huang Ziyu then explained how Park Guchong had found this place today. By what you're saying, he's been gone for almost an hour. That's really bad news. Lin Ye rubbed his temples and said. Lin Ye was certain that Park Guchong would definitely bring Hua Guo and the others here. By then, it would be very difficult for Lin Ye to protect them all. Park Guchong has been gone for almost an hour. From Lin Ye's place to Hua Ji's, the trip is about 2 hours, so a round trip is 4 hours. They still have time to think about what to do next. Looks like we can't stay here. Lin Ye looked at the women and said, but it's almost dark now, and the jungle is dangerous too. It wasn't easy to find such a good place. After the little golden eagle was carried off by the big eagle, it never came back. It's getting dark. Where can we go? Huang Ziyu asked worriedly. Let's not think about that for now. We still have time. Even if they come now, it'll take at least another 3 hours. Let's fill our stomachs first. Lin Ye didn't have any good ideas at the moment either, so they could only take it one step at a time. Besides, wild beasts often came to drink water near Brother Hua's place at night. They probably wouldn't choose to travel through the jungle at night either, right? Huang Ziyu's expression was a little ugly. It seemed Lin Ye didn't have any good way to deal with it either. Lin Ye paid it no mind and sat on the ground, starting to make fire by drilling wood. The women sat nearby chattering about meaningless gossip. Haha, finally succeeded. Lin Ye looked excitedly at the sparks by his feet and gently blew on them with his mouth, covering them with leaves as a small flame slowly sprang up. Looking at the several big blisters rubbed onto both his hands, Lin Ye shook them out and felt that making fire by drilling wood was feasible. It just really wore out the hands. Brother Lin Ye, you can even do this. From now on, you'll be a walking fire source, Luna said with a smile. The women all praised Lin Ye, to the point that Lin Ye was a little embarrassed, but when he looked at Huang Ziyu, she only smiled a little, probably still worried about Park Guchong. Lin Ye skewered the wild rabbit and placed it by the fire, then teased Huang Ziyu. Didn't you say last time you weren't afraid of them? And now after just a few days you've changed your tune again? Huang Ziyu didn't argue back, and her expression looked rather bad. Lin Ye continued mocking her inwardly. Now that it was dark, even if they hid in the woods now, it still wouldn't be safe, and fear of the unknown was even more terrifying. Dealing with people in the open might be easier than dealing with wild beasts. Don't overthink it. They probably won't come tonight. And besides, we have nowhere to go right now. Even if they do come, I'll do my best to keep you all safe. Huang Ziyu looked into Lin Ye's determined eyes. This little man actually looked quite handsome when he was serious. I'll fight alongside you too, so don't underestimate me. I'm a 6th Dan black belt in Taekwondo, Huang Ziyu said proudly. Us too. If they dare come, we'll drive them away. Luna and the other women also echoed. In just a few days, this group had become tightly united, and Lin Ye felt somewhat gratified. There would be many unknowns in the days ahead, and only with a sense of crisis would they be fit to survive on this deserted island. What you said is true. There really are 3 beauties? Brother Hua listened to Park Guochang's report over here. It's true. How would I dare deceive you? If there weren't good news, I wouldn't dare come back, right? Park Guochang said fawningly. Hearing Park Guochang say that he had found 3 beauties over by the woods, Brother Hua was a little excited. If he could catch them and bring them back, he could change things up once in a while. Then he looked at the woman crouching under the tree, the one he had already grown tired of playing with, and his face filled with disgust. Good. If it's really true, I'll credit you for it later, and you can pick one of the beauties. Brother Hua patted Park Guochang on the shoulder and laughed. These 2 crabs are your reward. You've worked hard. At daybreak tomorrow, you lead us there. Thank you, Brother Hua. I haven't eaten all day. Park Guochang took the crabs from Xiong Hua's hand and started devouring them. But, Brother Hua, I heard them say there are 2 other companions, and one of them is a man. I'm afraid he won't be easy to deal with. Park Guochang mumbled with crab in his mouth. What are you afraid of? The 3 of us grown men can't beat them? A Gue is my ace enforcer. Brother Hua pointed at a Gue sitting nearby and said, Yes, with Brother Hua making the move, there's nothing that can't be handled, haha. Puk Guangchang said ingratiatingly. After finishing the 2 crabs with hardly any meat, Puk Guangchang still wasn't satisfied. But at this point he could only stare at the raw fish in Brother Hua's hand and not dare to hope for any of it. These foods were only brought back occasionally by a Gue when he went to the seashore, just enough to keep everyone fed. A Gue toyed with the dagger in his hand. He never went anywhere without it, and no one knew how it had gotten past the ship's security check. Bah, bah, bah. Even the raw stuff makes me want to vomit. I'll give it to you. Xiong Hua spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva and threw the fish in his hand to Puk Guangchang. A Gue glanced at Xiong Hua, his brows knitting slightly, then picked up a piece of raw fish, bit off a big mouthful, and chewed it. These past few days they'd been eating everything raw, just like primitive people. Puk Guangchang took Brother Hua's half a raw fish and, with repeated thanks, started gnawing on it. Looking over at Lin Ye's side, the roasted wild rabbit was fragrant and mouth-watering. The only downside was that the salt had also been washed away by seawater. It didn't taste great, but the others still ate it down to the last bit of bone. Lin Ye, I'll keep watch tonight. You conserve your strength and be ready for tomorrow's situation, Huang Ziyu said as she wiped her mouth with her hand. It's fine. Let's do it the old way. I'll stay by the fire. I can rest just the same. We'll leave here as soon as dawn breaks tomorrow. Lin Ye said. No, this time listen to me. Huang Ziyu said firmly. I'll keep watch with Miss Ziyu, and the 2 of us can look out for each other. Taking turns will also let us rest for a bit. Jean Meishan, who usually didn't like to voice opinions, said. Then sis, I'll keep watch with you too. Jean Shishan also said. No need, the 2 of us will keep watch. If everyone comes on watch, none of us will have any energy tomorrow. Jean Meishan waved a hand and said. Luna also said she could keep watch, but Huang Ziyu refused her as well, reasoning that the 2 of them were younger and should let the older sisters do it. In the end, Lin Ye couldn't bring himself to refuse any further, and could only tell them to wake him and the others when dawn was near, and if anything seemed off, to shout as loudly as they could. He handed the steel bar in his hand to Huang Ziyu. This was also the only weapon worth mentioning. Then found 2 wooden sticks for Jean Meishan, so that if something seemed wrong, she could tap the sticks to alert Lin Ye. After making the arrangements, Lin Ye took the 2 little beauties into the cave. The clothes in the cave had long since disappeared, replaced by some dry grass that Huang Ziyu must have laid down at some point. Brother Lin Ye, I'll sleep next to you. Luna snatched the middle spot and said. Why should you? I want to sleep next to Brother Lin Ye too. Jean Shishan said unhappily. Because I already slept with Brother Lin Ye long ago. Luna said. Hearing this, Jean Shishan misunderstood and thought they had slept together, when in fact they had only slept in the same place before. The 2 of them argued back and forth, neither willing to back down. All right, stop. I'll sleep in the middle, you 2 one on each side. Don't disturb my rest, okay? Otherwise I won't have the energy tomorrow, and if there's danger, I won't be able to protect you. Lin Ye said helplessly. Just like that, Lin Ye had one of their arms hugging each of his hands, with their heads resting on his shoulders as they fell asleep. That made Lin Ye miserable to death. He couldn't move left or right. On Lin Ye's body there was either the smell of sweat or a foul odor. The 2 beauties didn't mind, but their noses caught a faint fragrance from the 2 of them, each different. Ziyu, you sleep first. I'll keep watch, and I'll wake you in a bit. Jean Meishan said. Okay, then make sure to wake me later. Don't try to be brave, all right? Huang Ziyu said. I won't. I'll keep track of the time, and when it's about right I'll wake you up and go sleep. Jean Meishan said. Huang Ziyu no longer insisted, and slowly fell asleep by the fire. Jin Mei actually wanted to keep watch alone. Hearing that Huang Ziyu had the strength of a black belt in Taekwondo, she should be allowed to conserve her energy, so she didn't plan to wake her midway. By the time dawn was about to break, with the sky turning dim and gray, Jean Meishan wanted to go into the woods nearby to use the toilet. Just as she was about to squat down, her mouth was forcibly covered from behind. MMPH, MMPH, MMPH. Jean Meishan's mouth was covered, and she wanted to scream but couldn't make a sound. Don't make a sound. If you do, I'll kill you. A vicious fat man shook the gleaming dagger in his hand and said fiercely. It turned out to be Brother Hua and his group. Worried that Lin Ye and the others would be gone once daybreak came, they wanted to come early and lie in ambush. Just then, they ran into Jean Meishan, who was going to the toilet. I'm going to ask you a few questions now. You only need to answer by nodding or shaking your head. Brother Hua pressed the dagger against Jean Meishan's chest, forcing her to submit, and she nodded desperately. How many people are there in total? How many men? Brother Hua asked. Hearing Brother Hua's question, Jean Meishan nodded, then shook her head. Damn, what the hell do you mean? I asked you how many people there are, and you're nodding and shaking your head? You want to die, don't you? Brother Hua cursed softly. MMPH, MMPH, MMPH. Jean Meishan tried to speak through muffled sounds, but was being covered by Ague. Only then did Brother Hua realize he had asked the wrong question. Slapping his forehead, he said again, I'm going to have him let go of your mouth now. If you dare scream, I'll rape you first and then kill you. Hearing Brother Hua's words, Jean Meishan hurriedly nodded. By then, tears had already begun to stream down her face. At the same time, she had originally been in a hurry to relieve herself, and after being frightened like this by Brother Hua, she immediately lost control of her bladder. As Ague pressed against Jean Meishan, he felt a hot stream and an odd smell rushed into his nose. Looking down, he said, Damn, Brother Hua, this bitch pissed herself from fear. Jean Meishan was now both terrified and ashamed. Her expression could only be described as twisted. Forget that for now. Answer the question I just asked you. Brother Hua said, waving his hand. There are 7 of us in total, and 3 men. Please let me go, or my boyfriend won't let you off. Jean Meishan said. Brother Hua, she's lying. When we came during the day, there were 3 women here, and she said 2 hadn't come back. At most there are only 5 people. Park Kuchong said. Only then did Jean Meishan turn back and notice there was also 1 man and 1 woman behind them. The man was Park Kuchong, whom she had seen during the day, and there was also a woman whose hands were tied, held in his grasp. Obviously, Jean Meishan's lie had been exposed by Park Kuchong, but she still wasn't willing to give up and said, Brother, I'm not lying to you. Think about it. We only saw each other once during the day. How could I possibly tell him the truth? You're threatening me with a knife now, so of course I'm telling the truth. Brother Hua looked at Jean Meishan, who was stammering and trembling, her face full of sincerity, but he still didn't quite believe her. I don't care whether you're telling the truth or lying. None of you are getting away anyway. Brother Hua took Jean Meishan from Ague's hands and, covering her mouth, said, Ague, there's still another woman by the fire. Go quietly and control her. Ague looked toward Huang Ziyu, who was still sleeping not far away. Yes, Brother Hua, mission guaranteed. To avoid startling the others, Ague moved very slowly with every step. As he was about to get closer and closer to Huang Ziyu, Jean Meishan anxiously wanted to shout out, but her mouth was tightly covered. Whoa. Brother Hua violently smashed the dagger hilt against Jean Meishan's lower back. Kim Mi-sian winced in pain, her expression growing even more twisted. Are you looking to die? If you dare struggle again, I'll kill you. As Huaji spoke, he pressed the dagger against her neck and shoved her to the ground. Feeling a trace of coldness on her neck, Kim Mi-sian didn't dare struggle anymore. Her body was pinned hard to the ground by Huaji, her mouth covered by his hand, and she felt like she was about to suffocate. Ague was just about to flank from behind and was only 2 or 3 meters away from Huang Ziyu. I'll help. Run. At that moment, the woman being held by Park Kuchong suddenly started screaming like crazy. The woman's hands were tied, but she could still shout loudly. Huaji and the others had overlooked her, thinking she had long since become obedient under his intimidation. But at such a critical moment, she suddenly went mad and sent a warning to the other side. Damn it, cover her mouth, you idiot. Huaji cursed at Park Kuchong. Park Kuchong had tried to control her as soon as she started screaming, but being short and sleazy by nature, not only was he unable to stop her, his hand was bitten instead. Hearing the scream, Huang Ziyu woke up immediately, and Lin Ye also poked his head out from the rock cave. Ziyu, watch out behind you. Lin Ye, who had just stuck his head out, looked at Ague behind Huang Ziyu and shouted loudly. Huh. Huang Ziyu turned around and saw a man lunging at her quickly. Having just been startled awake, she was still a bit dazed, her reaction sluggish, and her brain unable to come up with a response. Seeing that Ague was about to pounce on Huang Ziyu, Lin Ye leaped forward, grabbed the vines, and in 2 steps jumped down from the rock cave 7 or 8 meters high, knocking Ague to the ground. Huang Ziyu covered her mouth and stared blankly at the scene. In his life, Lin Ye had never done anything this crazy before. Back when he was in school, at most he had only jumped down from a 2-meter wall. When Ague heard Lin Ye's warning, he had also noticed Lin Ye by then. But he didn't think Lin Ye could get down so quickly from such a high place. So even though he knew someone was above, he still wanted to control Huang Ziyu before she could react. The vines cushioned the fall midway, but from such a height, the impact of crashing down knocked Ague unconscious on the spot. Lin Ye. Huang Ziyu hurried over and lifted Lin Ye up. How are you? Are you okay? Don't scare me. Huang Ziyu shook Lin Ye's head anxiously. Oh, it hurts. Don't shake me anymore. If you keep shaking me, even if I was fine, I won't be. Lin Ye lay on top of Ague, his head still somewhat dazed, and Huang Ziyu's shaking almost made him vomit. You scare me to death, jumping down from so high up. Huang Ziyu said. The pretty girl inside the cave also slowly climbed down after hearing the commotion and ran anxiously to Lin Ye's side to ask after him. My left arm is dislocated. Don't touch me. Lin Ye raised his hand to stop the 2 women from coming closer. Lin Ye's left wrist was already starting to swell, and his chest felt as if it had been struck by a huge stone, making it hard to breathe. You 2, find a vine and tie up the person on the ground first. Ziyu, come with me to the woods to check the situation. Lin Ye felt Ague with his hand. He was still breathing, but at this point he was clearly on his last breath, obviously badly injured by Lin Ye's impact. Hearing Lin Ye's instructions, the 2 immediately sprang into action. Lin Ye, Xian is gone. Huang Ziyu looked around and said to Lin Ye, she should be in their hands. Let's go. As Lin Ye spoke, he grabbed the steel bar and walked forward. From a distance, Hua Ji watched as Ague was struck by a man descending from the sky. Having smashed Agu to the point where it was unclear whether he was dead or alive, he immediately thought of retreating. From where he was standing, with the leaves blocking his view, it was impossible to see the cave above, especially at night. This whole series of actions happened in a flash. Lin Ye stood at the edge of the woods and shouted to Brother Hua, come out. Your man is in our hands now. Let our friend go. Brother Hua was, after all, a local gang boss, so naturally he could not allow himself to be outdone, especially since there was another man beside him. Even if he was useless, he could still bolster his courage. Ha ha, I didn't expect such a perfect plan to be ruined by a woman. Brother Hua and Park Guchong slowly walked out, each holding a woman hostage. Lin Ye, save me. Wu 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 Jean Meishan broke free from the hand covering her mouth and shouted. What? Want to save her? Brother Hua said with a dagger pressed against Jean Meishan's neck. Sister, sister, you ugly freak, let go of my sister. Seeing a knife held to her sister, Jean Shishan pointed at Xiong Hua and cursed. How about we make a deal and exchange hostages? Lin Ye stared at Brother Hua as he spoke. Lin Ye felt somewhat nervous, afraid that Brother Hua might suddenly make a move. His hand was injured now, and he simply couldn't handle it, so he could only keep his left hand behind his back to keep the other side from seeing it. How do I know whether my brother is okay? What if he's dead? Then I should at least arrange someone to be buried with him. Brother Hua said coldly. Lin Ye narrowed his eyes. The pain in his left hand made his expression look rather grim, but since it was not yet fully light, Brother Hua could not see clearly. When facing people like Brother Hua, your momentum must not weaken, or the other side will gain the upper hand, and then things will be difficult. Standing behind him, Huang Ziyu looked at Lin Ye's trembling left hand hidden behind his back, then stepped forward and said to Brother Hua, why don't you let the person behind you come over and confirm whether he's still alive? Lin Ye looked at her with some, but Huang Ziyu gently patted Lin Ye on the back, signaling him not to worry. Sure, as long as I confirm my brother is still alive, we'll exchange hostages. Brother Hua answered readily at this moment, while secretly giving Park Guchong a meaningful look. Be careful of them. My hand is injured right now, and I may not be able to handle them well. Lin Ye whispered in Huang Ziyu's ear. Don't worry, I'm here. Huang Ziyu said, still somewhat concerned. Lin Ye had Luna and Jean Shishan move behind them, making way for Park Guchong. After understanding Brother Hua's look, Park Guchong tied up the woman beside him to one side, then quickly walked toward Egu. Lin Ye followed behind him, afraid he might pull some trick. Brother Hua, Brother Gue is still breathing. He's alive, but he's unconscious now. Park Guchang checked Egu's breathing by hand and shouted to Brother Hua. Well, can we exchange hostages now? Lin Ye looked at Brother Hua and said, Yes, have Park Guchang carry him over, and I'll let her go. Brother Hua replied, No way. If he carries him over and you don't release her, then what? Lin Ye did not want to let the man go only for the other side to go back on their word. Ha ha ha, you're quite interesting. Then what do you say we do? Brother Hua asked with a laugh. Lin Ye did not answer, only telling Park Guchang to carry the tightly bound Egu while he pressed the steel bar against Egu's neck. Watching Lin Ye's series of actions, Brother Hua thought to himself that this kid was clever. If the bar had been held against Park Guchang, he could have completely ignored whether he lived or died, but Egu was loyal to him, and he could not abandon a loyal dog. I'll count 123, and we'll walk toward each other together, then hand the people over. Lin Ye said, Okay. Brother Hua slowly walked toward Lin Ye, and Lin Ye watched his every move closely. When the two sides were about to meet face to face. What a pity, so many beauties. How about sharing one with your brother? Brother Hua said as he walked. His hand, however, unconsciously reached toward Jean Meishan's chest. Ah no, Jean Meishan couldn't break free. With a dagger pressed against her neck, she struggled too hard, and her neck had already been cut by the blade. Beast, let go of her. Watching her sister being humiliated, Jean Shishan picked up a wooden stick from the ground and charged at Brother Hua. Don't go over there. At this moment, Huang Ziyu was already too late to stop her. Just as she was about to rush in front of Brother Hua, Brother Hua gave Park Guchang a look. Be careful. Lin Ye sensed something wrong from Brother Hua's expression and shouted loudly at Jean Shishan. At that moment, Brother Hua forcefully shoved Jean Meishan toward Lin Ye, while Park Guchang also quickly ran forward with a gue on his back. Lin Ye couldn't dodge in time and was hit head-on by Meishan as she was shoved over. At this moment, Jean Shishan also realized that something was wrong, but she had already rushed right up to them. She wanted to turn around and run back, but her foot slipped and she fell to the ground. Brother Hua lunged at Jean Shishan with a knife. The hostage in his hands had already escaped, and if Jean Shishan got caught again, things would be troublesome. Just as Brother Hua's hand was about to grab Jean Shishan lying on the ground. Bang! Along with Brother Hua's scream, the dagger in his hand also fell to the ground. It turned out to be Huang Ziyu. Holding a wrist-thick wooden stick in her hand, she viciously smashed it onto the back of Brother Hua's hand. Brother Hua had been busy signaling to Park Guchang, and seeing that he was just about to catch another beauty, he had not noticed Huang Ziyu running over at all, and was caught off guard by her sneak attack. Quick, pick up that knife. In a flash, Lin Ye shouted at Huang Ziyu. Hearing Lin Ye's shout, Huang Ziyu hurriedly picked up the dagger from the ground, helped Jean Shishan up from the ground, and protected her behind her, pointing the dagger at Brother Hua. She fully gave off the stance of, if you dare come up, I dare stab you. Brother Hua was still clutching his hand and screaming. Clearly that blow had not been light. Damn, you stinking bitches, you're asking to die. Brother Hua shook his numb hand, picked up a wooden stick, and charged at Huang Ziyu. Lin Ye also got up at this moment, rushed at Brother Hua with a steel bar in hand, protected the women behind him, and stared at Brother Hua as he said, What? You want to risk your life? Seeing Lin Ye run over with a weapon, he might have felt he could handle a few women, but with Lin Ye added in, he wasn't very confident. Not to mention that a gue was still unconscious on Park Guchang's back. Good, very good. Just you wait. I won't let you off. Seeing that he was outmatched, Brother Hua threw out a harsh threat and prepared to leave. Save me. Please save me. I'm begging you, save me. I don't want to go with them. The woman tied up to one side cried out. Even if she hadn't cried for help, Lin Ye had wanted to save her anyway. It was precisely her cry that reminded Lin Ye and the others that they were in danger, allowing them to escape. Humph, just a piece of trash, and you want her too? Brother Hua stared at Lin Ye with an unfriendly gaze and mocked him. Lin Ye was just about to speak when Huang Ziyu stepped forward, pointed the dagger at Brother Hua, and said, Let her go, and I'll let you leave. Hearing Huang Ziyu's domineering words, Brother Hua was somewhat stunned. When had he ever been threatened by a woman? You? Brother Hua said disdainfully. You can try? Huang Ziyu said coldly. Lin Ye was a little worried that this girl might be overdoing it. This kind of hero saving the beauty thing should have been left to him. At the same time, he was also a little suspicious. Could she really be a taekwondo expert? Or use you to exchange for her? You're even more attractive than she is, haha. Brother Hua laughed. Hearing Brother Hua's filthy words, Yuki Huang could no longer hold back. In one swift stride, she rushed at Brother Hua, stabbing at him with the dagger at the same time. She didn't want to kill him, only to make Brother Hua back off. Seeing the dagger coming at him, Brother Hua was a little surprised. She actually dared to strike first? Damn bitch, bring it on. He swung the wooden stick quickly, trying to block the dagger. While saying it was good, he was shocked inside. Yuki Huang's stab at Brother Hua instantly changed into a horizontal slash. Brother Hua blocked the dagger with the wooden stick and swung his right fist toward Yuki Huang's face. Watch out. Lin Ye's heart almost jumped into his throat as he hurriedly warned her, rushing toward Brother Hua. Just as Brother Hua's fist was about to smash into Yuki Huang's face, Yuki Huang leaned back to dodge, then planted both hands on the ground and used a spinning kick that landed squarely on Brother Hua's chest. A fat man weighing nearly 180 jin was kicked back 5 or 6 steps, nearly falling to the ground. Clearly, that kick had considerable force. Brother Hua clutched the spot where he'd been kicked and was momentarily speechless. Are you all right? Lin Ye had also reached her side by then and asked. I'm fine. Yuki Huang shook her head, then said to Brother Hua again, are you going to let her go or not? Brother Hua clutched his chest, staring hard at the two of them. After thinking for a moment, he finally gritted his teeth and said, fine, I admit defeat. Let's go. He gave Lin Ye and the others a vicious look, then led Park Guochang away, looking back once more as he left. Back in the day, Xianghua had also fought his way to his current position with his own means, but after so many years his body had long been hollowed out by alcohol and women. He had a large number of underlings and bodyguards around him, and was no longer the blade-wielding big brother he once was. All right, you're really a master, huh? Seeing Brother Hua retreat, Lin Ye praised Yuki Huang. That's right, you think I was lying to you? So you'd better not bully me, wumph. Yuki Huang said smugly. In fact, with skills like hers, against someone like Brother Hua whose body had been worn down by alcohol and women, she could at most protect herself. If Brother Hua fought desperately, he might not actually be outmatched. Lin Ye walked toward the woman tied up beside them and helped untie her. Thank you. If it weren't for you, we might not have escaped so easily. Lin Ye thanked her. The woman's eyes were somewhat vacant and lifeless. Only after seeing Brother Hua and the others leave did her body slowly relax. The last time I passed by and saw her, she was still quite pretty. But now her eyes were sunken, her cheekbones protruding, and her clothes were so tattered they could only barely cover her body. Clearly, she had suffered inhuman treatment at Brother Hua's hands. No, saving you also means saving myself. They're not human. Whoa. As she spoke, she started crying. Lin Ye patted her back and didn't know how to comfort her. Letting her vent freely right now was the best choice. Actually, a few days ago when we passed by, we saw you, but at that time there was nothing we could do. Lin Ye said apologetically. No, it's not your fault. Actually, the bodyguard called a Gue was very skilled. You might not have been his match. The woman choked out. From the woman's words, they learned that her name was Sakura, and she was Japanese. She didn't know the other woman, and she had died in the tsunami. As for the other matters, she was unwilling to say much and kept hesitating. So Lin Ye didn't press further. Lin Ye briefly introduced everyone, then looked at the cave behind them and said, we need to leave here immediately. A thief is not to be feared for stealing, but for keeping you in mind. It was a pity to leave such a good place, but there was no choice. What if Brother Hua and the others came back again? Let's head to the beach first. The group all nodded in agreement and followed Lin Ye toward the seaside. There was really nothing much to pack up at the camp anyway. All their belongings had been swept away by the tsunami. Lin Ye wanted to walk along the other side of the beach, avoiding Brother Hua and his people as much as possible, and at the same time check the fishing boats sunk in the sea. It was possible that after the tsunami they had been washed ashore, so he wanted to see if there were any usable supplies. The group arrived at the seaside once again. The trees by the jungle were leaning, with lots of trash hanging from them, and there was an extra layer of sludge on the sand, but it probably wouldn't take long before everything returned to how it was before. Wow, the air seems so much fresher. Luna stretched and said. After walking such a long way, Ingzi was somewhat exhausted. After all, she was the weakest physically, and the expression on her face had already given her away, yet she still put on a strong front. You two support her for a while. We'll go rest by the shipwreck up ahead, Lin Ye said to the Kim Hee-sun sisters. After walking some distance, Lin Ye saw the fishing boat standing by the shore from afar. Great, I'll go take a look first. You all catch up slowly. Lin Ye ran excitedly toward the boat. But when he got close to the hull, he saw several figures, and one of them he recognized. It was Wang Qin. What a coincidence, you're here too, Lin Ye said with a forced laugh. Two men and one woman stepped out from Wang Qin's side and looked at Lin Ye warily. The two men were holding weapons, both sharpened wooden spears, while the woman was holding a simple bow with a few wooden arrows slung across her back. "Mr. Lin? What a coincidence indeed. I didn't expect you to still be alive," Wang Qin said in surprise. Hearing Wang Qin reply, the others slowly lowered their weapons and stood by her side. "By God's grace, I nearly died. But aren't you all still alive too?" Lin Ye replied. "It's a long story. The tsunami came too suddenly. Since you're here, we won't bully you. Whoever finds the supplies in this boat first gets them." As Wang Qin spoke, she gave a look to the two men behind her. Understanding her signal, the two men climbed toward the cabin, while Wang Qin took the other woman and began searching around the hull. "Lin Ye, is there any danger?" Huang Ziyu and the others also came over at this time and asked. "It should be fine. If they make a move, we're no match for them either. Let's just look for useful supplies and ignore them," Lin Ye said. The entire hull was covered in rust and in a terrible state of disrepair. Some parts looked like they could fall apart at any moment. Lin Ye carefully climbed onto the slanted deck and felt his way toward the hold. The most important supplies were metal tools. As for other useful things, they had long since been scattered who knew where. Lin Ye found several rusty steel plates, whose size and length were just right to be ground into a few machetes. In the end, he found a sheet of iron that could be used to make a pot. The things the women found were all bits and pieces, with nothing particularly useful. "Mr. Lin, I think it must be pretty hard for you, being alone and taking care of so many women." Wang Qin walked over to Lin Ye, glanced at the women, and said meaningfully, "Hardship is inevitable. After all, everyone's just trying to survive and hold out until the rescue team arrives," Lin Ye said as he sorted the steel plates. "I'm a little worried about your small frame. Haha. Then if I invite you to join us again, what would you choose?" Wang Qin said with a chuckle. Lin Ye was stunned for a moment. Although he felt that Wang Qin bore him no hostility, and she was very capable, the men all listened to her. It had been the same with Haid last time, but he hadn't come along this time. Lin Ye didn't know whether he was dead. "Miss Wang, I'm very curious. How do they obey you?" Lin Ye pointed at the two men in the distance and asked. "It's simple, resource allocation," Wang Qin said. "Resource allocation?" Lin Ye asked in confusion. Lin Ye was genuinely curious. What resources are there to allocate on this deserted island? You eat one meal and don't know where the next one will come from. If you join our team, you'll naturally know what resource allocation is. As she spoke, Wang Qin took off the watch on her left wrist and handed it to Lin Ye. Then she continued, "We lost 5 people in the last tsunami, and now is exactly when we need people. No matter whether you agree to join us or not, I'll give you this watch." Looking at the watch in front of him, if this were outside, it would easily be worth several million. To just give it to Lin Ye like this. Even on this deserted island, it has great value too. It can be used to tell time and calculate the tides. This woman has a broad vision, but Lin Ye couldn't see through her. Maybe she really wanted to invite Lin Ye to join from the bottom of her heart. But the more it was like this, the more scared Lin Ye felt. This woman really had a way of winning people over. Lin Ye took the watch and played with it in his hand. "It's a good thing, but I still don't want to join you." Wang Qin was stunned, somewhat unable to understand why Lin Ye refused. Lin Ye simply didn't want to hand his fate over to someone else. People's hearts can be sinister. "I'll accept the watch. To show my thanks, I'll tell you some news. There are 3 more survivors in the direction I came from, and they're not very trustworthy. You should be careful with them," Lin Ye said to Wang Qin. "3 more people?" Wang Qin frowned, then said, "In that case, I won't insist any further. If you want to join, you're welcome anytime." The 2 men on Wang Qin's side had searched around the boat. Each of them was holding different items, and Lin Ye took a look. It was all some discarded steel materials. At that moment, the 2 men's eyes were fixed on the women behind Lin Ye, their gazes greedy and completely unconcerned about Lin Ye in front of them. "Then we'll go first. Thank you for the watch," Lin Ye said to Wang Qin. Faced with those 2 men's greedy looks, it was better for Lin Ye to take them away first. "You can go. They have to stay." One of the men stepped forward and blocked Huang Ziyu and the others, saying this. The other man also came out and blocked their path. The newcomers were not friendly, and Lin Ye prepared for a fight. Lin Ye's dislocated left hand had already been forcibly reset by Lin Ye on the way here. Facing one person, Lin Ye was confident, but 2 people, and there was also a woman carrying a bow and arrows, who had been standing behind Wang Qin without saying a word. "What? Are you planning to keep us here?" Lin Ye tightened the steel plate in his hand and said to Wang Qin. Wang Qin was somewhat angry. Originally, she had wanted to let Lin Ye go, but the 2 men acted on lust and went against her wishes. Huang Ziyu protected the women behind her and also took up a stance. Let them go, Wang Qin said to the man who had spoken first. Sister Wang, you're just letting them go like that? The man was somewhat unwilling and continued to ask. Didn't you hear me when I said let them go? Wang Qin raised her voice again. Seeing Wang Qin angry, the two men stopped insisting, gave Huang Ziyu and the others a deep look, and stepped aside. Let's go. Lin Ye gave Huang Ziyu a look and quickly walked forward along the sandy beach by the shore. You two are getting bolder and bolder. Even Sister Wang's words dare to disobey. After Lin Ye and the others left, the woman who had been standing behind Wang Qin said, All right, Qing'er, don't blame the two of them, Yun Liang and the other one. Wang Qin waved her hand and said, These two men, one is named Peng Yunliang, and the quieter one is named Peng Yunjie. He's his younger brother. Sister Wang, we were just trying to help the camp bring in some fresh blood. Those women, especially the one leading them, really is stunning. Peng Yunliang said obsequiously. All right, it's not like our camp doesn't have women. What I want is for them to join voluntarily. Besides, if you can find enough food, you can pick any of the women in the camp. Wang Qin said. But there's one thing you need to remember. You can't force them. After Wang Qin finished speaking, she left with Qing'er. Bro, how about we catch up and bring those women back? After Wang Qin left, Peng Yunjie, who had been standing behind them the whole time, said, Forget it. If Qing'er makes a move, the two of us probably won't come out ahead. As soon as Peng Yunliang mentioned Qing'er's fighting skills, a trace of fear rose in Peng Yunjie's heart. Qing'er had previously won a free fighting championship. It was said that she had also been a soldier, and her archery was first-rate. Like Haid, she was Wang Qin's personal bodyguard. If Wang Qin hadn't let the two of them off just now, they probably would have been in for a hard time. It's just that Haid went missing in this tsunami, and the chances are high that he's dead. On the first day, they gathered together because a few people were dissatisfied with Wang Qin's distribution. They wanted to make trouble for Wang Qin, but Qing'er broke their arms and legs and threw them into the sea to feed the sharks. Let's go. Let's get some sea fish. As long as there's food, it's not like there are no women. There's no need to take risks. Peng Yunliang said. There were still 10 people in Wang Qin's camp. Besides their pair of brothers, there were 2 other men. As long as the 4 men found enough food and handed part of it over to Wang Qin, the other 4 women would agree to have sex with that man as long as he gave her food of equal value. If he wanted to use force without food, Wang Qin would step in to stop it. At first, the women did not agree to such a transaction, but they only held out for 2 days. Under hunger and cold, they eventually agreed. Wang Qin maintained the balance in the middle, and together with Qing'er's intimidation, this was what she called resource distribution. At least the women could stay alive. Once they left this island, they planned to forget this period of memories and start life over. If they didn't say anything themselves, who would know? On Lin Ye's side, they headed east all the way and arrived again at the place where they had first awakened. Find a place under a tree and sit for a while. I'll go ahead and pick some coconuts. Lin Ye said to the group. Brother Lin Ye, I'll go with you. Luna quickly said. Okay. Lin Ye had already picked all the coconuts from those first few coconut trees, so he walked a little farther before finding a few more. Wait down below. I'll climb up. Lin Ye took off his shoes and quickly climbed up. Luna stood below staring in amazement, covering her mouth as she showered Lin Ye with praise. He came back carrying a pile of coconuts. After sharing them, they lay on the ground and rested for a while. They had walked at least 7 or 8 li along the way. Lin Ye was still fine, but the women were so tired they lay on the ground and didn't want to move. Let's keep going. It isn't safe here at night. Lin Ye stood up and said, Indeed, we ran into a pack of wolves here on our first night. We'd better avoid this place. Huang Ziyu also chimed in. As soon as they heard there was a pack of wolves, the women did not linger any longer and all got up, saying they could still keep going. After walking another 2 hours, seeing that the women behind him were all supporting one another as they followed him, Lin Ye knew they couldn't keep walking. Before they even encountered danger, their own people would collapse first. All right, we'll rest here tonight, Lin Ye said, looking at the empty beach. This island is too big. After walking for so long, the stretch ahead was still endless at a glance. Lin Ye had calculated along the way that the path they had walked was not a straight line, but like a W, going in for a while and then out again. Yay, we can finally rest, Jin Sahan said happily. Ingzi had spoken very little along the way, as if she had been conserving her energy. After hearing Lin Ye say they would rest, she also sat down on the beach in relief. Lin Ye glanced at his watch. It was 2 p.m., but he also didn't know which country's time to use as the standard. It seemed rather useless too, so they could only judge when it would get dark by the sun. But they roughly knew the cruise ship had run into trouble in the Caribbean waters that day. From the cave to the wrecked ship to get materials, it had taken about 6 hours. The shadows cast by the sun had already lengthened somewhat. It should be getting close to dark. Lin Ye raised a hand, squinting at the sun, and sat down to rest as well. Girls, are you all rested? I'm going to assign you tasks now. After resting for a bit, Lin Ye stood up and said, there are only a few hours left until dark, and Lin Ye had to find the things they needed before then. Hearing Lin Ye call out, the women all gathered around. Ziyu, take Ingzi and go into the woods to gather some dry firewood. The more the better, just enough to burn through the night. Don't go too deep, and be careful, Lin Ye said to Huang Ziyu. Okay, Huang Ziyu answered and immediately took Ingzi into the woods. Luna, go find a few stones. They don't need to be too big, just bring whatever is convenient. Lin Ye turned and said to Luna. Luna nodded and walked toward a stretch of reef. You two go see what edible things there are by the beach. The two sisters, Jean Sahan and her sister, also headed toward the beach at once. Everyone was sent off by Lin Ye, while Lin Ye himself went to the edge of the woods and carried back a pile of leaves to lay on the ground. After making several trips, seeing that there was enough on the ground for several people to lie down on, Lin Ye nodded in satisfaction. At that moment, Luna came back holding a few stones. Brother Lin Ye, here you go. What are these stones for? Luna asked in confusion. Of course they're for smashing the pot. Go back to the beach and see if there are any water bottles. Bring back some seawater. Lin Ye said. Oh, okay. Luna obediently ran toward the beach. When they came out, the only bottle of fresh water they had brought had long been finished. Now there were only 5 or 6 coconuts beside them. To get through tonight, they absolutely had to find fresh water tomorrow. Lin Ye picked up the stones on the ground and started pounding the piece of iron they had found on the wrecked ship. The banging sounds echoed far into the depths of the island. Lin Ye wasn't afraid of attracting wild animals. The louder the noise, the more it would scare them off. If it were humans, they might follow the sound to find them. A makeshift pot finally took shape under Lin Ye's skillful hands. The two sisters, Jean Sahan and her sister, caught many small crabs and brought back plenty of small oysters. As for Luna, after searching for a long time, she only found 3 empty bottles. Lin Ye, come give me a hand. Huang Ziyu's voice came from the edge of the woods. Huang Ziyu was holding a large bundle of dry firewood, while what Ingzi was carrying looked like bamboo shoots. Lin Ye ran over quickly, and upon seeing clearly that what Ingzi was holding really was bamboo shoots, he asked, where did you find so many bamboo shoots? We only went in about 300 to 400 meters. There was a small bamboo grove there, and on the ground were lots of little bamboo shoots. We didn't dare go deeper. There was also a cave inside. Huang Ziyu put down the firewood and said breathlessly, a cave? Lin Ye said in surprise. From far away, that cave looked pitch black inside, and bamboo was growing all over the entrance. We were afraid and didn't dare get close. Ingzi answered. For the 2 women to dare go in that far was already quite remarkable. Originally Lin Ye had planned to go into the woods tomorrow to investigate, but it seemed he'd have to go take a look at that cave tomorrow. It's fine. It's good that you're back. This bamboo shoot is good stuff. If there were meat, it would smell even better fried together. Lin Ye took the bamboo shoots from Ingzi and said. As soon as Lin Ye mentioned food, everyone's stomachs began to rumble embarrassingly. The whole day, they had only eaten those few coconuts. After picking 2 pieces of wood that were easier to ignite, Lin Ye began his friction fire plan, and only after his hands were covered in blisters did he finally get a fire going. Lin Ye instructed the women to handle the bamboo shoots, while he began boiling sea salt in the pot. After the previous attempt, this time he was quite practiced. After boiling the sea salt, he added 3 coconuts to the pot, put the bamboo shoots in, and simply skewered the crabs on branches to grill them. Just like that, a bamboo shoot and coconut soup dinner solved tonight's meal. Lying on the beach covered with leaves, Lin Ye didn't want to move at all. Let's make do tonight. The sky is our blanket, the ground our bed. Lin Ye said with a smile. I think it's pretty good. Saying that, Ingzi was the first to come over and lie down. I'm going to sleep next to brother Lin Ye, so don't you dare fight me for it. After seeing Ingzi lie down, Luna hurried over and lay down beside Lin Ye. This girl is really getting clingy with Lin Ye now. Lying beside him, she continued asking, Brother Lin Ye, what did you do before? What dreams do you have? Back then, I just worked at a small company, earning 4,000 or 5,000 a month and taking the harshest beatings. Lin Ye shook his head and went on, as for dreams, right now, I just want to leave here alive, then make money, go home, and find a wife. Do you have a girlfriend? Luna widened her eyes and continued her soul-searching question. Lin Ye thought back to everything with his ex-girlfriend. 3 years of being a simp for nothing. He awkwardly replied, dated one, broke up. Luna was about to keep asking when Lin Ye cut her off. Don't ask me. You should all talk too. Let's get to know each other better. I'm just curious about you. Luna pouted and said, don't you know curiosity killed the cat? Lin Ye said speechlessly, I had just graduated from university when my dad promised to take me on a trip around the world. The last stop was originally supposed to be the African savannah, but as Luna spoke, tears began to fall uncontrollably. Last time Luna had already said that her father went missing in this shipwreck, and bringing it up again reopened her wound, which inevitably made Lin Ye a little sad, so he gently patted her on the back to comfort her. Luna lay beside Lin Ye, choking back tears, and Yingzi gently held her in her arms. The atmosphere suddenly became a bit oppressive. Lin Ye, you all should hurry and go to sleep. I'll keep watch tonight. Huang Ziyu said at this moment. I'll keep you company. Jin Meishan said. No need, you all go to sleep. I'll wake you in the second half of the night. Someone has to add firewood to the bonfire after all. Huang Ziyu said to Meishan. Lin Ye didn't refuse further and planned to get up in the middle of the night to replace her. Jin Meishan also stopped insisting. Everyone was exhausted from the day and fell asleep as soon as they lay down. When Lin Ye woke again, he saw Huang Ziyu sitting stupidly by the fire, looking up at the bright starry sky. Lin Ye got up and walked over, saying, go sleep for a while. I'll watch the rest of the night. You woke up so quickly? Go sleep a little longer. I'm not sleepy yet. Huang Ziyu turned back and said. Lin Ye looked at the time. Only 3 hours had passed since he fell asleep, but he was very alert now. The faint sea breeze was blowing, making one feel refreshed. I'm pretty energetic right now too, so why don't you keep me company for a while? Lin Ye stretched and continued. I used to always fantasize that if I had a seaside villa, facing the sea with spring blossoms, how wonderful that would be. Huang Ziyu smiled after hearing that, and said, then half of your fantasy has come true now, except there's no house, only unknown danger. Ha ha ha, if we can't get back, I'll build a villa here. Lin Ye said with a laugh. If we make it back alive, I can give you one. Huang Ziyu looked at Lin Ye and said seriously. Hearing Huang Ziyu's words, Lin Ye was stunned. A seaview villa wouldn't be cheap no matter where it was. Yet this woman talked about giving away villas at the drop of a hat. That sounds great. Then I'll just live off a woman, haha. Lin Ye said with a laugh, treating it as a joke and not taking it seriously. Compared to how you saved my life, a seaview villa is nothing. Huang Ziyu said calmly. Are you some rich second-generation heir? You've never really talked about your background. So how did you end up on the ship? Lin Ye asked. After all these days, Lin Ye had learned more or less some family information about the other women, but Huang Ziyu alone had never said anything. You want to know? Huang Ziyu asked back. I originally did want to know. You casually give away big villas, but now that you've asked like that, I suddenly don't want to know anymore. Lin Ye spread his hands and said, TSK, now I don't want to tell you anymore either. Huang Ziyu rolled her eyes and said, under the bright night sky, shooting stars occasionally streaked by, but all these days no planes had passed over this area. And for such a large island, it felt like there was no trace of it on the map. I'm going to sleep first. If you get sleepy, wake me up again. Huang Ziyu said with a yawn. During the 2 days Huang Ziyu had been keeping watch at night, she had actually also been secretly dealing with her own personal issue. If she held on for one more day, her period should be over. Go ahead, it's probably almost dawn. At the beach at night, the temperature difference was still quite large. The women all curled up together to keep each other warm. After a night passed, Brother Lin Ye, when did you wake up? Luna was the first to wake up. Seeing Lin Ye sitting by the fire, she walked over and asked, You're awake. Did you sleep well last night? Were you cold? Lin Ye turned and asked. It was okay, within an acceptable range. It feels like my body has adapted to the environment here, Luna said with a smile. A sliver of morning sun appeared over the sea, as if the sun were about to rise from the bottom of the ocean, and everyone gradually woke up as well. Lin Ye took out the steel piece he had put in the fire last night. One side had already been heated red hot, and he planned to hammer it flatter with a stone so he could grind out a knife. What are you doing? Huang Ziyu asked, rubbing her eyes. How come you've become a curious baby too? Wasn't Luna always the first to ask before? Lin Ye teased Huang Ziyu and then added, I'm forging a knife. Huang Ziyu looked at what Lin Ye was doing, completely baffled. Forging a knife with a stone? This method was clumsy, but it was also the best option for now. The women also followed Lin Ye's example, putting the remaining 2 steel plates into the fire. Bang, 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 hammer it after burning. Burn it after hammering, repeating the process who knew how many times. Lin Ye checked the thickness, and finally, satisfied, started grinding it on a rough stone. Without a whetstone, this thing was really hard to sharpen. The blister from making fire by friction yesterday had also completely burst, and the pain made Lin Ye bare his teeth. "Little beauty Luna, come over and grind it for me for a while." Lin Ye beckoned to Luna and said. The other 4 women were all forging the steel pieces, and only Luna was standing there looking silly. Lin Ye could only call her over to help. I don't know how either." Luna pointed at the somewhat misshapen blade and said, "You don't know? It's simple, I'll teach you," Lin Ye said. Luna had no choice but to squat down and pick up the steel plate from the ground. Yes, grind it like that. Use a bit more force. Add some water to the stone." Lin Ye turned into an old hand at this, and directed everyone the whole time as they sharpened the blades. The one Lin Ye forged turned out fairly successful. The other 2 were a miserable sight, either crooked or too thick. When he had time next time, he polished them up properly. "I can't do it anymore. I'm exhausted." Luna handed the knife to Lin Ye and complained. Taking the steel knife from Luna, Lin Ye ran his hand along the blade and felt it was pretty good. These 3 steel plates were specially selected by Lin Ye from the abandoned ship. They were 1 meter long, 4 centimeters wide, and less than 2 millimeters thick. A 20-centimeter blade edge was ground at the front. This was a proper machete. Not bad. Lin Ye tried it on a small tree as thick as a wrist at the edge of the woods. He chopped it down to the ground with just 2 swings. "Wasn't that my contribution? You have to reward me," Luna said playfully. Yes, it's all your contribution, but I don't really have anything to reward you with right now." As Lin Ye spoke, he turned both pockets inside out to show Luna. "That won't do, just keep it in mind first, humph." Luna said as she ran off to the seaside to wash up. "You all go wash up too. In a bit, we'll all go check out that cave in the bamboo grove." Lin Ye walked over and said to the 4 women who were still grinding the steel plates. Lin Ye also checked their progress by the way. It's still usable as a fire poker." Lin Ye put some charcoal into the pot, preparing to bring a source of fire. Making fire by drilling wood was simply too time-consuming. Anyway, the pot could still be washed and used after cleaning with wood ash. He simply made a net bag out of vines to support the bottom of the pot, so it wouldn't burn his hands. Soon, everyone followed Huang Ziyu to the outer edge of the bamboo grove. "Lin Ye is there." Huang Ziyu pointed at the pitch-black cave ahead and said. Lin Ye looked in the direction she pointed and saw a small cave entrance, with small bamboo growing all around outside, covering half of the entrance. "You guys stay here and get a fire going while you wait for me. I'll go take a look first." Lin Ye handed the pot to Huang Ziyu, then tightened the steel knife in his hand and slowly crept toward the cave entrance. Lin Ye was still a little scared. If a fierce beast rushed out of the cave, he wouldn't even be able to run. Only when he got close did Lin Ye realize the entrance was beneath a stone mountain. The mountain wasn't large, and the cave extended downward all the way. He picked up stones from the ground and threw them in. Bang, bang, bang. It seems pretty deep. He picked up stones again and kept throwing them in, repeating it many times. There probably aren't any fierce beasts inside. It's just too dark in there, making it hard to judge. Lin Ye cut away the small bamboo at the cave entrance with his steel knife, making the entrance a little brighter, but he could only see the edge of the opening. "How is it, Lin Ye? Any danger?" Seeing Lin Ye walk back, Huang Ziyu asked. "It's very big inside. I tested it with stones, and for now there's no danger. We'll need torches to go in and take a look inside," Lin Ye said. "I'll go with you." Huang Ziyu picked up the just-lit fire stick and said, "Okay, let's just gather some dry wood and build a fire inside the cave. This wooden stick isn't a torch, and it hasn't been soaked in oil, so it won't burn for long," Lin Ye said. Seeing the stick Huang Ziyu had just taken from the fire and that it was about to go out, everyone also felt that what Lin Ye said made sense. They scavenged some dry firewood that had fallen on the ground and lit a bonfire by the edge of the cave entrance.